on the legacies of each of its former federal leaders to take the blue machine to greater heights. He says the performance of mayors, particularly in metros, which it plans to take charge of in the next local government elections, will be key to the goal of attracting a diverse voter base and first-time DA voters.
We must be more present in more communities, and I mean really present, standing shoulder to shoulder with people, helping them solve their problems.
He's cautioned against radical coalitions of populism, but says he remains hopeful that partnerships like the GNU can work.
We will not listen to the naysayers, to the people who say that our country cannot be fixed, that the South African dream is dead, or that it is behind us.
Hill-Lewis will have 3 years to achieve his mission, with the 2029 national election coinciding with the DA's next federal Congress. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, Celia Brink says he's more than prepared to juggle his mayoral campaign in Tshwane and the new role in the party's national leadership. Brink was elected Deputy Federal Chairperson during the Congress over the weekend. The position is occupied by 3 people who are involved in making key organizational decisions. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Celia Brink was previously a member of parliament for the DA before being redeployed to the city of Tshwane to serve as mayor. However, he was later removed through a vote of no confidence, after which he became an ordinary councillor and the DA's mayoral candidate in the capital. With the local government elections approaching, Brink says he's confident that he'll be able to juggle his mayoral campaign with his new role as the DA's Deputy Federal Chairperson.
I would not have agreed to the nomination if I did not think that this can be combined with my candidacy in Tshwane. To me, professionally, politically, Tshwane, the race there is critically important. I believe I can make a contribution while being the Tshwane candidate.
The DA's Deputy Federal Chairperson is responsible for overseeing the party's administration and playing a key role in key decision-making. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
The African Transformation Movement says it's waiting for a response from National Assembly Speaker Thoko Didiza after requesting the start of impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa. This follows a damning report by police watchdog IPID into the alleged cover-up of money stolen at Ramaphosa's farm involving members of the Presidential Protection Service. While the report makes no finding against Ramaphosa, it is highly critical of Major General Wally Rhoda and Constable Hlulani Rikoto on evidence that they breached police rules and legal obligations. ATM spokesperson Zaman Chona says the president is now compromised, describing the matter as a full-blown constitutional crisis.
The establishment of a parliamentary ad hoc committee through the Portfolio Committee on Police, urgent intervention by the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence into the unlawful intelligence style of operating.
And the U.S. military says it will block all Iranian Gulf ports today, effectively seizing control of maritime traffic in the critical Strait of Hormuz. The strategic waterway responsible for distribution of a fifth of the global oil supply has become a pressure point in the Middle East war started by the US and Israel in February. The U.S. Central Command says the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. U.S. President Donald Trump says this will not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports.
10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil, and that will be very effective. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait.
Meanwhile, Iran says any military vessels that approach the shipping route will be dealt with severely, while the country's parliamentary speaker says Tehran will not surrender under any threats. Gold is trading at $4,712.59 an ounce. The rand is at 16.55 to the dollar, 22.18 to the pound, 19.34 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $102.20 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is in the Germiston area between the Yelands Interchange and Van Buren Road. Roadworks are causing these delays. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic reported on the M1 North between Boyson's Road and Carr Street.
And in your sport, back-to-back Masters title for Rory McIlroy, winning at Augusta by 1. Manchester City beat Chelsea 3-0 to close the gap on Arsenal to 6 points, while at the bottom, Spurs stays in the relegation zone. Kaizer Chiefs got a 4th league win in a row, staying 3rd on the table. And Yannick Sinner back top of the world tennis rankings with victory over Alcaraz in the Monte Carlo Masters.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers and thunder showers expected. Johannesburg and Vereeniging both starting at 14 degrees, peaking at 26. Pretoria 15 and 28. The top story in EWN this hour. New DA leader Geordon Hill-Lewis says his party doesn't plan to be a secondary partner in the government of national unity forever.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Small business owners speak a language of their own, and it's a language MTN Business and 702 understand very well. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes after 6 o'clock. It's a brand new week. It's Monday, the 13th of April, the year of our Lord 2026. My name indeed is Bongani Bingwa. On our menu today, we look back on a really significant moment for the Democratic Alliance, new leadership. But many of these young leaders elected through their development program. What does that tell you about the DA's ability to produce new leaders, to blood new leaders, and their leadership pipeline? You could even argue that if youth is the calling card, Geordon Hill-Lewis is a bit of an underachiever. Musi Maimane was 34 when he took over. Tony Leon was 37. He's a creaky 39. That is obviously tongue-in-cheek. Does that excite you? Young people are possibly the biggest voting bloc available in South Africa. Certainly if you want to mine new votes, if you want to get people to the polls who may never have voted before, that's where you would do it. Do you think Geordon Hill-Lewis's DA is the party that will speak to their aspirations? The disaffected, the disappointed, the unemployed, the poor young people of South Africa? What did the president know, and when did he know it? That was the crucial question asked about Richard Nixon, the former US president, who was spying on members of cabinet and opposition leaders and so many others. That was Watergate. For Phala Phala, the same questions apply, don't they?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
At the very least, you would think the barest minimum any police officer must be able to do if they fall upon a crime or even an allegation. The barest minimum. Don't get fancy with me and ask them to investigate and look into it. No. That's just high grade stuff. But at the very least, surely they should report it. So many questions still linger around the Phala Phala matter. How much was actually in the president's house? How much was hidden in the couch? Was that the only money? Were there other amounts? Were there other stashes? Because we are expected to believe that some guy who happened to be on holiday at Sun City with his family got into his limo, left Sun City, went to the president's farm to buy these buffalo, left the equivalent of 10 million rand, walked away without the buffalo, never saw the buffalo, and never came back for his money. How much did the president know? Because having alerted his head of security, Major General Wally Rhoda, that this had happened, he then never finds out. Chief, what's going on? Who did it? Where's the money? He never finds out. He's just... So Wally Rhoda then goes off on this unlawful investigation that was way beyond what he was allowed to do. doesn't report it, doesn't tell the National Police Commissioner at the time, and doesn't go back to his boss and say, oh, this is how far I am with that matter. This is what we've done. Meantime, by sheer coincidence, some of the president's most senior advisors are also going to Namibia, where Wally Rode is trying to chase some of the alleged suspects. And then, when they finally release a report, it's classified. Now, the minimum threshold for classification is around whether or not disclosing that information would cause a detrimental effect to the department concerned, the entity concerned. Would it threaten the security of the state? How? So we'll be speaking to IPID about their investigation. And of course, bear in mind, we now know the Constitutional Court is about a month away from releasing its final judgment on the matter. But what is your sense? It's a very big week politically, because we're also keeping an eye on what might unfold in East London as Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF, is sentenced. Can you imagine if we end the year and our political landscape looks dramatically different without one or two leaders? Hey?
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's 13 after 6. My name is indeed Bongani Bingwa. I'm not alone, of course, as always. I've got a team of colleagues with me in the studio. A very good morning to you, Amoramila.
Good morning, Bongani. Morning 702 Landers.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Highlights?
Well rested. That's all I can say. I was telling Muteo that, looking at the socials, I saw how much of a busy weekend it was, especially for
a lot of people.
For a lot of people, yeah. People were down at the Josie My Josie event, which was really spectacular. I saw a lot of friends appreciating what the city is and the potential it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also most of my friends were also down at the theatre, and I was like, oh, this is actually looking good.
Listen, James Ngobo, who is the director of the Joburg Theatre, there's something going on at the Joburg Theatre.
Yeah.
Revival is almost an insult. There is a magic that's unfolding at the Joburg Theatre. I know Market Theatre has also been putting some good productions, but Joburg Theatre in particular is just going through a kind of golden era, if you will. I was there on Friday. Muteo, you were there on Saturday.
Yeah.
What did you see?
The Man with No Surname. Wow. James Ngobo actually directed that. Really, really, really good story. But also, when you watch actors on TV and you wonder, what else can they do?
Yeah. Do they have the range?
That was a curiosity for me, the range. And Pagamisa and Bonko really, really kept us entertained at the edge of our seats. 2.5 hours dialogue just between the two of them. No breaks in between. You can imagine.
It's a dense play, hey?
The immense, very complex, dense work, but still quite fulfilling.
And entertaining at the same time. I went to see the tribute to Brahu. I do not recall seeing anything more spectacular in years. That's how good it is.
That's amazing.
It was a tribute where, and I mean, again, conceptualized by James Ngobo. They played, so the first thing that you think is, I didn't realize how extensive Brahu's songbook was, which is a stupid thing to say, right? But it's songs you've known from childhood, growing up, songs that were there before you were really around. I mean, of course, I wasn't here when he recorded Grazing in the Grass, but these are songs you've always known and heard on the radio. And I also didn't realize how much he recorded upon return from exile. So for 3 hours, we were entertained, and they kept recordings of interviews of Brahu, which they interspersed throughout the program. So as they're playing a song or a different era of his life, you can hear his voice telling you what that moment was and what that collaboration was about, or what led to that song, or his thinking and his struggle. So you almost felt as if he was there. Zoe Modiga, she practically stole that show. Then there's Vusi Maslasela, who, I mean, he's older. He's older, right? And, and you can see that, there's a bit of stiffness, but as soon as he gets into his, Tentwana, the Laitifan Kofifi comes out, and oh man, it was remarkable. If you've got a chance to go watch the productions that are on show at the Joburg Theatre, make sure you do so. My only pet bag, and 702 Land, can we have a conversation about people and their cell phones in inappropriate moments and places? So, of course, they tell you, no flash photography. And I understand if there's a song, everybody must get up, we're singing Tanai and we're all happy, fine, take your phone. But there were moments that just required, they were almost spiritual. Zoe Mutiga does this thing where you feel as if the ancestors are actually in the room. It is the most dramatic, but it commands and it demands respect. There was a woman who was sitting in front of me at one point who I was close enough to be able to see what she was doing on her phone. She just randomly takes out her phone and she's on WhatsApp. At some point she's on a news site and she's just scrolling away. And I thought, and she wasn't a young, wasn't a young lady, wasn't a young dolly. And I just thought, and you see it at funerals. You see people posing after the funeral. Is it me?
No, it's not. Cell phone etiquette is quite the issue. I mean, we had a few phones ring during what was an intense theater performance, and you wonder, okay, why? I don't mind your phone ringing, but surely when they say in the beginning, put it on silent, switch it off, no flash photography, they then remind you not to disturb the show. But it still happened anyway. But yeah, people are using cell phones in very inappropriate situations.
Where have you experienced it and what's your feeling? You're in a church service. It's a funeral service. Emmanuel, I was told yesterday, this is at the graveyard, of somebody who tried to record as the coffin was going down. And they thought this is something they must have to remember. What is wrong with us? What are your thoughts on that? Let's talk. 011 883 0702. We'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
19 after 6. All right, so the election of Geordon Hill-Lewis as the leader of the Democratic Alliance raises a question. He aims to make the DA the largest party in South Africa. Whether that means they win an outright majority and can rule and govern without a coalition, or that they would be the senior partner in a coalition arrangement, obviously remains to be seen. But he at least wants them to be the largest party in South Africa. Without Ramaphosa, and given the shenanigans that we've seen in the ANC, it's not far-fetched as an idea. But what it also means is that South Africa would then have to contend with a white president. 32 years after its last one. Are we ready? Race is not something you can get away from in South Africa. And whilst we may be entertained by Gogo Zilla swimming in potholes, and then the mayor repairs it, and then it disintegrates, all in the same week, whilst you might give her a chance in Johannesburg, would you be willing to give the DA, and by extension then, a white leader for South Africa? I had a furious discussion in one of my WhatsApp groups where somebody said, no matter how much the ANC fails, for him, it would be an admission that blacks have failed in governing. And I said, why? Why must the ANC's mistakes or indeed successes speak for the rest of us? Surely we're just as inconvenienced by some of the things they get wrong as anybody else. Muteo, is the country ready for a white president? Again?
Well, I don't speak for the country, Bongani, but
all 60 million was canvassing.
What I often hear in conversation, and I think this is a key point for the DA, people will vote for the DA wherever they live because they see the results. It works out for them. It's very convenient. They have a councillor who's doing the right things, but there's a big trust deficit when it comes to the national governance. Are they ready to govern, you know?
People always say, yeah, but what about Kailicha? What about Langa? What about... There's a story in the Sowetan today. There are 300 or just over 300 police officers in Alexandra. For how many millions of people? Does that argument still hold? Let's talk.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk.
You've got a question of your own, Mateo?
Yeah, I'm asking this morning, are you willing to be the bigger person in order to find a solution, or do you stick by your guns? And if you feel you're not wrong, you're not wrong. Even if the situation doesn't work itself out, I would rather stick to what I believe is right.
Ooh, that's such a tricky question. I tend to want to find a solution where we can. If my position won't affect the outcome, the greater outcome of something,
yeah,
I'm okay to let it go. But if I know conceding will mess up the final outcome, then no, I'm not shifting.
You're not shifting. Amo?
I think I'm always the bigger person in the room. Well, at that time, maybe if we're having an argument, it doesn't look like I'm the bigger person because it looks like I'm conceding. But, you know, especially if we are family members, I know somehow the whole thing will fix itself in the future. So I don't have to stress about being right at that particular time.
Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? I mean, is that the question, Mateo? Somebody says, but my happiness comes from being right.
Oh, well.
702.
Weather.
What conditions can you expect at the start of a brand new week? A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers and thunder showers expected. Joburg and Vereeniging, 14 to 26 your temperatures there. Pretoria, 15 and 28. A fine day for Cape Town, maxing at 29 degrees. Bombela, 28. Mahikeng, 23. Bloemfontein, 22. Durban, some rain there as well, maxing at 26. Gqeberha in East London, 24 degrees. Kimberley, 23.
EWN Traffic.
24 after 6, this EWN Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask them for 500 Rand. Amo?
Well, Bongani, we start the morning with a couple of accidents. One in Eldorado Park on the N12 East. This is right near Klipspruit Valley Road. It's causing delays. Another one in Omondi along the M1 North. It happened near Xavier off-ramp. Delays from the Uncle Charlie's interchange. And then there's also an accident scene reported in Bedford View. This one is on the N3 North right near the Van Buren Road exit, and it's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of the Yelands interchange. I'll have more updates coming up. Do stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
With Outsurance, I'm saving a whole 729 Rand.
Another satisfied Outsurance client saving more money every month. 32-year-old Perushka saves 729 Rand a month on her 2020 Haval H2. And after 3 claim-free years, she gets an out bonus.
Yes, I'm ready for that out bonus.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes after 6 o'clock. Did you read the Sunday Times yesterday? I mean, what on earth is going on in the city of Tshwane? We're trying to get the mayor on because I think the buck must certainly stop with her. The Sunday Times have been running these stories looking at water tanker tenders in the capital. Yesterday, they ran a front page story about a woman in Soshanguve whose child goes to a no-fee paying school, who lives in basically what looks like an RDP house, who has received over 95 million Rand in multiple payments for water tanker services when she doesn't own any infrastructure that would allow it. Now, quite clearly, she's probably never seen a cent of this money, but she's got a relative who's connected. And if you read the story, it also works with some of these taxi operators. So somebody who's connected to somebody who's connected to somebody who's connected to... Oh, I've got an aunt, Wakoso Shanguve, will register a business.
Front this thing.
And yeah, no, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And I don't even know how much she knew about what is being done in her name. But out of that 95 million Rand, I think she'll be lucky if she saw 1,000. What is going on in the capital?
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
And then the Sunday World running a story about DSTV Delicious. Canal Plus, the new owners of MultiChoice, will no longer give that festival the naming rights. That doesn't mean it'll end. It might mean that another sponsor will come and take it over. But is it the end of an era? What if it never comes back? I mean, it's just one of those news stories that I thought, no more DSTV Delicious. Will it be quite as delicious without DSTV? In the Worldview, Adam Gilchrist is going to tell us about a 9-year-old boy who was rescued in France after being locked in his father's van for nearly 2 years. Found malnourished, unable to walk, living in severe neglect. Police were alerted by noises coming from the vehicle, and the father has been charged with kidnapping, and they're obviously going to be looking at other investigations about what on earth was going on there. The City of Joburg's credit rating outlook has been placed on negative due to delays in the finalization of audited financial statements. This has raised concerns about financial transparency, and it will impact on the city's ability to find funding. And born on this day, 1932, Barney Simon, a key figure in the development of the Market Theatre in 1976. He served as its artistic director until his death, and he worked under apartheid restrictions, staging multiracial productions and championing writers like Athol Fugard and bringing South African stories to global audiences.
702.
The newspapers.
Svisa Zulu, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Bongani. Looking at the Yorkshire Post, which is a story about deep-fried food to be banned in school canteens. So the government in Yorkshire has decided to ban all deep-fried food from menus, sugary treats limited as part of a sweeping standard overhaul that's aimed at tackling child obesity and tooth decay. So no more ice creams, no more waffles, no more cakes. They'll be limited to at least one day a week. And so all schools in Yorkshire are going to ban this. So I'm trying to figure out how the schools are going to balance this with parents, because sometimes you may put some rules at schools, like saying no sugary stuff at school, but then at home it's a different story. So it's a bit of a intriguing one.
SAA is the big story on the front page of The Citizen. Once again, the national carrier in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. This is after the resignation of top officials, including 3 board members and the CEO. But the attention I want you to bring you to is the Sowetan, and they're talking about the number of police officers that are available for nearly 1 million people in Alexandra. 305. Divide 1 million by 305. That's the number of police that are available. 1 officer for every 3,200 residents. If you live in Alexandra and your cases never go anywhere, this could be why.
EWN Business.
All right, Mateo, you want to know? Do we stand on business, the hill we die on? Or do we negotiate with, the goal of solving things and, become the better person? What prompts the question?
Well, no adults in the room this weekend. Pakistan, of course, the mediator of those negotiations between the US and Iran, but both parties, the US and Iran, walking out of the negotiation room with no solution for peace in the Middle East. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance of the US, that is, says Iran chose not to accept American terms for a deal, including to not build nuclear weapons. Now, the Iranian delegation says it negotiated continuously and intensively for about 21 hours in order to protect the national interests of the Iranian people, but says the unreasonable demands of the American side prevented the progress of the negotiations. Now, Iran's parliamentary speaker Mohammad Khalibaf said the US failed to gain the trust of the Iranian delegation in this round of negotiations. Now, in the meantime, crude oil prices have surged during the weekend as the US Navy prepares to impose a blockade on Iran's ports after peace talks failed over the weekend. So they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz as well as Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know quite how that's going to work.
No, you close it. No, I'll close
it. Exactly.
No, you close it. No, I'll close it.
U.S. crude
Now you
oil
close it.
futures for May delivery jumped nearly 8% to $104 per barrel, hurting consumers. Of course, the international benchmark Brent crude also up 7% to $101. Tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has plunged due to the threat of Iranian attacks, triggering the largest supply disruption in history. About 20% of global oil supplies passed through that particular waterway before the U.S. and Israel actually attacked Iran. The rising oil prices have already pushed up inflation on Friday. The U.S. was the latest victim. The annual inflation there up 3.3% in March, marking the highest level since May of 2024, a sharp increase from 2.4% in both February. So it just tells you how the global economy is going to be going this year.
Remember I said at the beginning of Trump's presidency, fasten your seatbelts? We're now in the bumpy ride.
Here we are.
Where's the rand?
16.54 against the US dollar, down by more than 0.5%. 19 rand 33 against the euro, and at 22 rand 15 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $4,711 an ounce, or platinum is down 0.5% at $2,041. Brent crude up 8% at $102 a barrel. More business after 7.
We've heard of hot cars, Swisso Zulu, but a hot truck? I'll let you tell the story.
Well, Bongani, good morning. A truck driver arrested for transporting explosives in Limpopo will appear in the Musina Magistrates Court today. Law enforcement authorities intercepted the vehicle at the Bide Bridge border post over the weekend. Thousands of blasting cartridges, connector capsules and detonator fuse reels were found during the search. Hawk spokesperson Avela Fumba says the suspects attempted to flee but was caught and handcuffed.
This is not just an arrest, but it is a warning. Criminals must understand that our borders are not open doors for danger. What was intercepted here could have destroyed lives, families and communities. Every explosive taken off the street is a life saved.
Alleged underworld gang boss Nafis Modak is set to return to the Western Cape High Court today. Modak faces charges of murder, extortion, fraud and money laundering related to operating a criminal enterprise. The charges include the murder of top cop Charles Kinnear, who was shot dead outside his Bishop Levy's home in 2020. Carlo Peterson reports.
Nafis Modak is set to return to the witness stand today for his attorney, Advocate Bashir Sibda, to re-examine the state's case against his client. Among the 122 charges he faces, Modak is accused of ordering co-accused Zane Killian to illegally track slain top cop Charles Kinnear before his murder. Other charges include the attempted murders of prominent criminal defense attorney William Booth and alleged underworld figure Andre Naudé. Modak has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges, insisting he's the target of a conspiracy involving corrupt cops and his underworld rivals. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng Environment MEC Iwan Botha is expected to attend the World Travel Market Africa in Cape Town. This is where the province will showcase its tourism and investment opportunities to a global audience. The focus today will be on the Maruping Visitor Centre, where the MEC is expected to unveil infrastructure upgrades, present new investment opportunities and launch an investment prospectus. Botha says his visit forms part of efforts to place Gauteng as a competitive investment that's ready to focus on key heritage sites.
On Tuesday, I'll be in key strategic engagements focused on unlocking investments and expanding tourism opportunities for the Cradle of Humankind, Marupeng, and Gauteng's Big Five game reserve, Dinokeng. As Gauteng MEC for Environment, I remain committed to growing sustainable tourism that drives inclusive economic growth, creates jobs, and strengthens our international footprint.
And at least 30 people are feared to have been killed in a stampede at a popular tourist site in Haiti. The incident took place on Saturday during an annual Easter gathering at a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The incident occurred during a tourist event attended by many young people at the site in the northern town of Millet. The site had been packed with students and visitors after the event commemorating the 19th century fortress's founding was advertised on social media. A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers expected. The temperatures are at lows of 14 and 15 degrees, peaking at highs between 26 and 28 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got a major accident seen in Omondi along the M1 North. It happened right near Xavier Street. It is causing delays from the Uncle Charlie's interchange. please be on the lookout there while traveling in Bedfordview. Another accident seen on the N3 North. It's causing about a 20-minute hold-up coming out of the Yelands interchange.
The top story this hour, a truck driver arrested for transporting explosives in Limpopo will appear in the Musina Magistrates Court today.
Parts of the 702 family.
My name is Iwet Machinya Timbi. I like this station I've listened over the years since its inception. 702 is the best. There's no other radio station that can beat 702. Hala, hala, 702.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
That's Amanda before she got naked. When the power tripped, Amanda felt more helpless than when her mom-in-law called her lasagna different. So Amanda got naked. She got car and home insurance at a lower premium and can now call an electrician anytime via the Naked app. There we go. Cover your car and home now at naked.insure and see how easy insurance can be when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan. Driven to evolve.
At Fly Sapphire, we know that some of the most important lessons take place beyond the classroom, on sports fields, stages and tours. And so, we've brought back our School Booster Initiative, where 10 schools stand to win 10 domestic return flights each, helping their pupils fly further, dream bigger, and do what they love. Visit flysapphire.co.za. Tell us how these flights could benefit your school, and you could be a winner. Fly Sapphire for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
We said, let's talk shop. And small business owners answered, from the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. Now, 702 and MTN Business want to share their stories with you. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Listen to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and the Afternoon Drive with John Perlman all week to meet the businesses doing big things. Hear what it really takes to build something from the ground up. And if you're listening thinking, that sounds like my business, go to primemediaplus.com now to enter or nominate a small business you know, because the next business we talk about could be yours. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
Coming up in the next hour, what's the question? And it's brought to you by Outsurance. Up to 3,000 Rand in cash is up for grabs. So send us an answer based on anything you heard in the show. For that, you win 1,000 Rand. WhatsApp us your name and the answer to 072 702 1702. Then later, someone else will ask a question to get your answer to win 2,000 Rand. SMS out to 45142 and you could save on your car insurance.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Bongani and team. Congratulations to the new DA leadership. However, for me, what stands out more than anything is that there's one woman at the top. If it's supposed to be representative of the makeup of the DA, is that the representation of women in the leadership? It's very disappointing.
Hey, morning, Bongs. O'Brien Fosdoras. Bongani, as the African National Congress, let me tell you, the report of Palapala is going to compromise Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. And as part of our renewal program, we are going to recall Ramaphosa because he's compromised due to the Palapala report. And then we're going to get someone better. You know, as ANC, this is our renewal program. We don't want someone who's tainted. So that's what we're going to do, Bongani. As for Malema, I don't want to comment on that one. Go be paya, Bongani. Thank you.
Morning, 702 land. Bongs, it's fine, my guy. You can say thanks to the EFF for finally putting pressure so that the Palapala judgment can be released in a month or two. I don't know why you're avoiding to say that. And don't worry, Bongs. I don't think Malema is going to get the 15 years that you so wish he will get. But anyway, hope all is well. But Ramaphosa, people must know that it was the EFF, the ATM, and Action SA that put the pressure. Give credit where credit is due.
Batung. On a Monday morning. Sebastian in Elders, short and sharp. Is South Africa ready for a white president again?
No, I can tell you emphatically no, not ready yet, Bongani.
Why?
And my reasons being is that we still got too many open wounds. And when it comes to the DA, they just like to paper over the cracks and say apartheid is finished, apartheid is no longer, but they don't live on the ground to see that it's still alive and kicking.
You are happy with the status quo?
No, I don't. I'm not happy with the status quo, but we can make changes, but not a white president, Bongani.
All right.
Not a white president.
Sebastian in Elders, I take your point. If you are saying apartheid is alive and still with us, then whose fault is it for the last 30 years that we haven't made headways to remove its effects? Is it Yelang in Linden?
Good morning, Bongani and team. I hope everybody's doing well this rainy morning. Bongani, we might as well press Control-Alt-Delete on the past century in South Africa if we consider having a DA-led government with a white president. And I say that because the exact effects of what we're living is the fallout of the apartheid strategy. So apartheid wasn't just a lived experience, it was a strategy.
Yelang, hold on. The DA is very clear, whatever its faults, that of course it's not going to bring apartheid back to South Africa. Why would this Geordon Hill-Lewis, who by all accounts is doing a fantastic job as the mayor of Cape Town, for all Cape Townians, why could he not do the same for the country? And is your objection purely on the basis of what he looks like?
Absolutely not. No one could be that fickle. The reality is the DA is just as corrupt as the ANC, perhaps not visibly so, and perhaps not the focus of the media. But every scandal that the ANC has had, the DA has had in equal measure. So I think the problem that the ANC has had for the 30 years that we've been in government is that the ANC has not been aggressive in shaking off this, they're the poster child of corruption, but corruption exists throughout our society. It is the one thread that we have in common as a nation. So for the ANC to bear the brunt of corruption, that's their fault because they're not employing the right sort of strategies to get themselves out of that. Has the ANC been the government we want? Definitely not. But is the DA a better option? Not at all.
All right, Yelang in Linden feels very strongly about that. Do you agree with those two calls? Do you have a different view? Let's hear it.
EWN Sport.
Well, we're definitely ready for a white sportscaster. Cindy Paluta, very good morning to you.
What?
Let's talk golf.
Yes,
I mean, this is an incredible achievement.
It is. Rory McIlroy doing it again, winning back-to-back Masters really is phenomenal. That makes him one of 4 people to do so.
Because this is the tougher one, right?
Yes.
Of all the majors.
Well, it's like winning a Grand Slam in tennis.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's really incredible. And to win it back-to-back is not easy. It's not as easy in golf as what it is in tennis, I believe. But, he joins Nicolas Faldo and Woods as the only players to have done so. After a shocking 1-over in the third round, McIlroy shot a 71 on the final day to finish on 12 under 1 ahead of Scotty Scheffler.
I thought it was so difficult to win last year because of trying to win the Masters and the Grand Slam, and then this year I realized it's just really difficult to win the Masters. Incredible, I don't think I would have believed anyone if they said to me, all you have to do is shoot even par for the weekend and you'll win. I definitely thought I was going to need to go out there and at least shoot a couple of under par scores.
Manchester City beat Chelsea 3-0 to close the gap on league leaders Arsenal to 6 points. Second half goals from O'Reilly, Shirky and Dorgu. At the other end of the table, the Tottenham Hotspur stay in the relegation zone. They lost 1-0 to Sunderland. Nottingham Forest held 4th place. Aston Villa 1-0. Forest stays 3 points clear of relegation. Crystal Palace beat Newcastle 2-1. Tonight, Manchester United host Leeds. Back home, Kaizer Chiefs got a 4th win in a row to stay 3rd on the Betway Premiership table, beating TS Galaxy 2-0. Can they catch Orlando Pirates? Just kidding. Goal
goals from Silver. Aleppo broke
Rub it
Chiefs'
in.
5-year winless streak against TS Galaxy. The day's other result, goalless between Marumagalland and Orbit College. A good night last night for Mamelodi Sundowns. They beat Esperance de Tunis 1-0 in the CAF Champions League first leg of the semi-finals. The goal from Brian Leon in the second half. And speaking of tennis, Yannick Sinner is back top of the world rankings. After winning the Monte Carlo Masters, he beat Alcaraz 7-6 and 6-2. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
702 Drive with John Perlman.
My show is about keeping our listeners company in the last part of the day in the most interesting and entertaining way that we possibly can. So the crucial thing for us is we've got to provide them with a mix. The news, yes, the big stories, of course, but we've got to talk about other things that make them laugh, make them think about things they've never thought about, and most important, that invite them to have a conversation with us. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land, first of all, I should just say people never stop surprising me. And the thing that is perhaps the thing I love the most is people manage to find things that make them laugh. And they don't laugh from a place of ridicule, they laugh from a place of deep humanity, because our ability to laugh has got us through so much over these many decades, and we're going to need it plenty in the decades to come.
702 Drive with John Perlman. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Celestial Bodies returns to the stage after last year's successful run. It's a collaboration between Universe on Stage and Joburg Ballet. Celestial Bodies is a fusion of narration, music, science, and ballet. It's a unique performance that tells the story of our connection to the stars and to the universe. Universe on Stage is reshaping live entertainment, merging science, music, and storytelling that connects audiences to the wonders of the cosmos. There are 3 performances of Celestial Bodies at the UJ Theatre this weekend, 2 on Saturday in the afternoon and the evening, and then 1 on Sunday. For more details and to book tickets, go to Quicket and search for Celestial Bodies.
When I say insurance, you say pineapple. Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
The Brainy Kids of the Whiz Quiz
on 702.
Hi, my name is Nsika Ngosi. I go to Waterkloof Primary School and I am 12 years old. I would like to be a professional soccer player when I grow up, and I'm very happy about playing the 702 quiz with Uncle Bongani.
Oh, you got 9 out of 10 in the test round. Can you take it all the way? Nzika, we can't wait to play with you.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN Traffic.
All right, the CWN Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. And that crash in Amondi, Amo?
It's causing heavy delays, Bongani. It's on the M1 North, right near Xavier Street. Delays coming out of the Uncle Charlie's interchange. Do expect about a 20-minute hold-up, especially if you're heading towards the Joburg CBD, because you'll be met with more delays as you approach Boyson's Road towards Car Street. This is due to peak time delays there. Please be on the lookout there and be patient. If you're traveling on the M2 West, queuing traffic between Heidelberg Road and the Crown interchange. I'll have more updates coming up.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 47. Did I turn the iron off? Oh, the inner turmoil. Well, with the Outsurance pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
702 Drive with John Perlman.
My show is about keeping our listeners company in the last part of the day in the most interesting and entertaining way that we possibly can. So the crucial thing for us is we've got to provide them with a mix. The news, yes, the big stories, of course, but we've got to talk about other things that make them laugh, make them think about things they've never thought about, and most important, that invite them to have a conversation with us. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land? First of all, I should just say people never stop surprising me. And the thing that is perhaps the thing I love the most is people manage to find things that make them laugh. And they don't laugh from a place of ridicule. They laugh from a place of deep humanity, because our ability to laugh has got us through so much over these many decades, and we're going to need it plenty in the decades to come.
702 Drive with John Perlman. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
You may or may not know the difference between a teaspoon and a caviar spoon, but you do know a great OUTsurance deal when you see one. Get a quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, you can ask them for 500 Rand. They'll make it 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
New from the House of Citroën.
Ah, so stylish.
470-litre boot space. I need it.
Keyless entry, so chic.
Cruise control. Oh, bonjour.
4-year or 60,000 kilometer service plan? Oui.
The stylish, all-new Citroën Passat is here. You want a piece of it. Starting from 354,900 Rand. Register now for limited deal assist of up to 40,000 Rand. Visit citroen.co.za. T's and C's apply.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Give away some cash. Up next, we review the weekend that was for the Democratic Alliance. Can they become the largest party in the land? In the meantime, Ntsika is our contestant today. He's 12 years old, goes to Waterkloof Primary School. He got 9 out of 10 in the test round. Ntsika, you must be very, very confident, hey?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's see if you can score all 10 goals like Mohamed Salah,
Okay.
your favorite footballer, hey?
Yes.
All right, here we go. KG, start the clock. True or false? The cheetah is a member of the Big Five.
False.
Correct. How many sides does a heptagon have?
7.
Correct. Which word is a noun? Arrow or allow?
Allow.
Arrow. True or false? NASA's Artemis project is named after a Greek goddess.
True.
Correct. Complete the saying. The early what catches the worm?
The early bird catches the worm.
Correct. Which sport has tournaments known as the French, Australian, and US Open?
Tennis.
Correct. Which 3-letter word beginning with C is an antonym for laugh?
Kid.
Cry. In which children's movie series is the character known as Gru?
Please repeat.
In which children's movie series is their character known as Gru?
Despicable Me.
Correct. Photo is shortened from which word? Photograph. Photograph is what we were looking for there. Not quite as well as you did in the test round in Ntsika, but 600 Rand is a credible score and a credible amount. Well played. Remember, you must be aged 10 to 13 to play the Whiz Quiz.
The Brainy Kids of the Whiz Quiz.
On 702.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
It's the big story on most of the newspapers this morning. Geordon Hill-Lewis takes reins in a new DA era, says the Business Day. And I've got a picture of the new leader, Federal Congress 2026, Geordon Hill-Lewis, holding hands with the new DA Federal Chairperson, Solim Msimanga. We're asking you a very simple question. If the Blue Party aims to be the largest in the land, whether it gets an outright majority and governs on its own or as the senior partner in a coalition, are we ready for President Geordon Hill-Lewis? Would South Africa, 32 years after its last one, have a white president? And that's a question we're going to put to our guest, Asanda Mwasheng, a political analyst, joining us. Asanda, always a pleasure to have you on our show. Your thoughts on this?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. While Geordon Hill-Lewis is a very interesting character, I doubt that South Africa is going to vote for its first white president in 2029. We are not there yet.
We're not there yet. Looking at this outcome, I mean, obviously the election of a younger leader, what does it tell us about the Democratic Alliance's political strategy right now?
Well, I think that, the DA has done something different to the ANC, which is that the ANC has that clause that you basically have to have been in the party for 10 years and more before you can ascend to, greater heights. And this has actually made it quite difficult for the ANC to have younger members, whereas the DA had, has a much shorter time span for you to go from joining to being a member. But Geordon Hill-Lewis is somebody who's been in the political party since he was in matric. Essentially, he's been a member, and he established one of the first the DASO branches at UCT, which he then basically went on to win. So this is somebody that has been in the DA and basically grew up in the DA as a political party leader. And so while he's young, he does have a lot of experience within the DA. And I think youth leadership is very important, but being young on its own is not a good enough qualifier for leadership as far as I'm concerned. And one of the things that show to me his political immaturity is that he's just won, one of the biggest political parties leadership in South Africa, 22% of the vote at the last election. They are in the GNU, meaning that they are one of the biggest leaders in the current government. And he's saying, if as his first port of call is that he wants to retain his position as the mayor of Cape Town. I mean, my guy, you've just been catapulted to a national position and you are deliberately demoting yourself, because as much as, for the DA, the city of Cape Town and the Western Cape in general is, their biggest thing. In South Africa, Gauteng is actually the biggest thing, and the national fiscus is an even bigger thing. And so it raised a lot of questions for me, why he has said that. Because while on the one hand, it makes sense that he would want the people of Cape Town to, be happy that there might be some kind of continuance. On the other hand, it tells me that the DA really doesn't understand what they need to do to get that national leadership. And I'm left asking very practical questions like, Bongani, is he going to be in executive cabinet meetings? Is he going to be at the quarters while also trying to run the city of Cape Town? And how is he going to engage with Helen Zille, who will effectively be running a bigger metro than him? In fact, the bigger metro potentially if she wins Gauteng. And so these are some of the questions that they have about the DA's own thought processes about what it means potentially to win that seat and to potentially win South Africa, because that's what they're saying they want to do.
I mean, it's confusing, and we've seen the DA have this tussle before with a different parliamentary leader and a leader of the party elsewhere. I think when Helen Zille was the premier of the Western Cape. And you're right. How can the leader of a big party like this not be privy to some of, say, the cabinet documents that will be discussed, that he would not be allowed to see, because, of course, they are by nature classified. One of the things he has to deal with is a comment, talking of Helen Zille, that she made even at this late hour, boasting of defeating the party from woke left ethno-populism. I mean, that's the kind of thing that will not land with the majority, will it?
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting how, the DA has gone from having called Mmusi Maimane an experiment and having spoken about its diverse leadership under Mmusi Maimane as a mistake, and now we're seeing that they have three black leaders. They've got people who represent Indian and colored population as well as white, but we're seeing that the DA doesn't quite understand diversity and its implications, because they only have one woman and the rest of the leadership is men, which says something about its ideas and its understanding of leadership. When you remove or ignore, like kind of 50%, just over 50% of your population, it tells us a lot about the kind of leadership framework that you have as a political party. And I think this DA's insistence on colorblindness is really its biggest kind of Achilles heel in a country that comes from a history where everything was defined by race. I don't understand why they keep insisting on pretending like race means nothing in South Africa when race means everything in South Africa, although we are trying to move away from that. The reality of it is that we are not there yet. Otherwise, we wouldn't have only Black people living in Black townships. We would have a range of South Africans living in Black townships if indeed we had surpassed the place where the DA thinks we are.
All right, Asanda Washeng, always a pleasure to have you on the show, reflecting on the election of Geordon Hill-Lewis as the new leader of the Democratic Alliance. And I suppose the big question, as you say, where will the centre of power be? At the Cape Town Civic Centre, or will it be in the caucus in Parliament? That remains to be seen. Up next, we look at the Phala Phala matter after this Eyewitness News, brought to you by Khaliks. Khaliks, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is EWN.
Geordon Hill-Lewis vows the DA will continue scrutinizing policies in the GNU, and the Political Killings Task Team takes over the investigation of a slain accountant in Mfuleni. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The DA's new federal leader, Geordon Hill-Lewis, says as a coalition partner in the government of national unity, his party will continue to push back against policy and legislation that hampers progress. Should Hill-Lewis return as Cape Town mayor after this year's local government elections, he will be directing the party's ministers without being privy to cabinet, unlike his predecessor, John Steenhuisen. Accepting the leadership role at the party's federal congress over the weekend, Hill-Lewis said while the GNU is both complex and fraught, the party must not lose sight of the reason why it exists. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
The 39-year-old Geordon Hill-Lewis has become the DA's fourth leader since its formation in 2000 and now takes the baton from John Steenhuisen, who after 6 years at the helm took the party into national government. Praising Steenhuisen for this feat, Hill-Lewis says the party must continue to use its position in the GNU to attract first-time DA voters.
In the DA, we are never in government for positions or titles. We are there to show the DA difference in word and in deed.
Hill-Lewis says under his leadership, the party won't be backing down on challenging ANC policies and legislation that it does not agree with and which it believes are blocking the country's progress.
We will oppose crony enrichment schemes that see the same politically connected friends making billions, while millions of people see no benefit at all.
Furthermore, Hill-Lewis has pledged to also continue to challenge cadre deployment, the expropriation of property, and to defend the right to mother tongue instruction. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, some DA members currently serving as ministers and deputy ministers say they are confident they will keep their jobs under the party's new elected leadership. 12 DA ministers and deputy ministers were deployed to government by their previous leaders. Tabiso Goba takes a look.
Minister for the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Vili Okamp, says he's not worried about being recalled.
So I don't think that there will be any changes. If the things work, why change it?
Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber says the decision to deploy and recall ministers and deputy ministers is a collective decision by the party.
No, I don't think should ever be a matter of their own. We don't operate like that. I think what we look for is the best people for the job, making sure that where there's progress, we continue to have that. And I really am very excited about what lies ahead for us.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister for Trade, Industry and Competition, Alexandra Abrams, says she serves at the behest of the party.
Well, my understanding is that we have been appointed by the leader, John Steenhuisen. It is the prerogative of the federal leader to keep us, to reshuffle us. That is his prerogative.
While the appointment of ministers and deputy ministers lies solely with the state's president, under the GNU, political parties submit names of their deployees to Cyril Ramaphosa for consideration. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
The SAPS Political Killings Task Team has taken over an investigation into the murder of the Mfuleni municipality's accountant. Martha Rantsofu was shot dead last month outside a tyre shop in Vanderbijl Park. The attack was captured on CCTV footage that's been widely circulating on social media. Jabuli Lembata has more.
Martha Rantsofu was previously employed in the municipality's revenue collection department, and she was later promoted as the city's accountant. In a social media post, a leaked video of the CCTV footage shows Rantsofu standing between two cars while on her phone. A man walks up from behind her and opens fire, and after she falls to the ground, he fires more shots before fleeing. Gauteng police say no arrests have yet been made, and the matter has been transferred to the Political Killings Task Team. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
And Iranian authorities say the US needs to do more if an agreement is to be made to end the Middle East war, as they urge their supporters to maintain control of the streets. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf says the US delegation at Saturday's marathon talks in Pakistan ultimately failed to gain the trust of the Iranian delegation in this round of negotiations. The Iranian delegation did not accede to Washington's core demands of eliminating nuclear enrichment on Iranian soil and ending the control over the Strait of Hormuz. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it did not accept the expect to reach an agreement after only one day of negotiations. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says this will not impede freedom of navigating the vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports.
10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil, and that will be very effective. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait.
And the US Navy says it'll block all Iranian Gulf ports today, effectively seizing control of the maritime traffic in the critical Strait of Hormuz. Gold is trading at $4,712.59 an ounce. The rand is at 16.55 to the dollar, 22.18 to the pound, 19.34 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $102.20 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the Makwan North between Xavier Street and the Uncle Charlie's interchange. Obviously, that major accident is causing these delays. Please be on the lookout there. If you are traveling in Deep Kloof, we've got bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N1 North, just as you come out of the Deep Kloof interchange towards areas like Roodepoort. Please be on the lookout there as well. And it's raining in most parts of Joburg, so please drive with care. Do remember to keep your headlights on and a bit slower than usual this morning.
And in your sport, back-to-back Masters title for Rory McIlroy, winning at Augusta by 1. Manchester City beat Chelsea 3-0 to close the gap on Arsenal to 6 points, while at the bottom, Spurs stays in the relegation zone. Kaizer Chiefs got a 4th league win in a row, staying 3rd on the table. And Yannick Sinner back top of the world tennis rankings with victory over Alcaraz in the Monte Carlo Masters.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers in the province. Johannesburg and Vereeniging both starting at 14 degrees, peaking at 26. Pretoria 15 and 28. The top story in EWN this hour. The DA's new federal leader, Geordon Hill-Lewis, says as a coalition partner in the government of national unity, his party will continue to push back against policy and legislation that hampers progress.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
The first rule of earning respect is to look respectable. Nothing exemplifies this more than a well-tailored business suit. Crisp shirt, tie, elegant shoes, all from Khaliq's. For over 50 years, Khaliq's has been a trusted name among business professionals who understand that reputation is everything. With quality suits and accessories of enduring style, Khaliq's offers exceptional value, service, and collections that inspire both business confidence and personal style. Khaliq's, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Walking the talk indeed. The DA's new federal leader, Geordon Hill-Lewis, saying that as a coalition partner in the government of unity, they're going to push back against policy and legislation that hampers progress. But this was the moment that said there was change in the Blue Party.
Delegates, it is my pleasure to announce that the new federal leader of the Democratic Alliance is Geordon Hill-Lewis.
He went on to say, of course, the DA will gear up for the local government elections with a view to being the largest party come 2029. Do you buy it? Do you think they can do it? Do they have what it takes? And is the country ready?
In just a few months' time, South Africans will choose their councillors and their mayors in the local government elections. If we work hard with focus and discipline, we can win more towns and cities than we've ever won before. Right here in Johannesburg, we know that Gogo Helen's going to be the mayor. If there's a way for our opponents to concede the election now, they should do it. And in Tshwane, with our superstar, Celia Brink. And our star, Katu in Ukuruleni. And in Cape Town and Nelson Mandela Bay and eThekwini and so many others. And when we win, those will be the first important steps on a longer journey. Because in 2029, our people will choose the national government that will lead this country into a better future.
So, as we spoke to analyst Asanda Ngwasheng, do you think she raises fair points about the DA? If the leader that wants to be the next president is stuck at the Civic Centre in Cape Town as mayor of that city, how do they then transition into becoming a national figure in our politics if they're going to remain in Cape Town? How will he deploy ministers who will then be serving as part of GNU cabinet? Cabinet discussions are classified. You can't just go around talking about them to people who are not in cabinet. How does he run that machinery based at the Cape Town Civic Centre? What are we missing that he gets?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Big developing story, of course, overseas and things you need to know. Viktor Orban, who has been Prime Minister of Hungary for the last 16 years, has been defeated in a landslide election that sees his rival now take over the leadership of that country. So Prime Minister Viktor Orban no longer going to be the leader of Hungary, but opposition leader Peter Major projected to win in a landslide victory. And of course, the Middle East continues to be a scene of death and destruction, particularly Lebanon, as Israeli attacks there see hundreds of people killed. I want you to listen to this report by the Sky News correspondent Alex Crawford, who is reporting is absolutely extraordinary, and she's been doing this for a very long time. And sometimes we tell you about a bombing in a place, but there's no connection to the people that are involved. I want you to listen to Alex Crawford talking about a father who goes through a scene of rubble looking for his child.
That man has lost his daughter. Another daughter is in hospital. There can be no sadder scene than this. Seeing him dig through rubble, trying to find mementos, photos, old necklaces I saw him pick out of the rubble of his daughter. He's determined to find the remains of her, however long it takes.
Up next,
The Big Interview.
EWN traffic.
7:15. Let's catch up with the roads. Amo, it's wet out there. People need to be careful.
Indeed, Bongani, and please do drive a bit slower than usual. Drive with care, keep your headlights on and avoid speeding. If you are traveling on the M1 North, we still have got those hectic delays. That accident near Xavier Street is causing about a 30-minute hold-up coming out of the Uncle Charlie's interchange. And then, of course, you'll be met by peak time delays as you approach Boyson's Road. If you are traveling in the Alberton area, do expect delays on the R59 North between Swartkopies Road and Nelson Mandela Avenue. There's also queuing traffic in Spruit View along the N3 North. This is between Heidelberg Road and Leondale Road. About a 20-minute hold up between those 2 points. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 7:02.
The Big Interview
with Bongani Bingwa.
16 minutes after 7 o'clock. Concealed, unlawful, off the books. That's how South Africa's police watchdog is describing what happened after that break-in at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala farm in early 2020, where hundreds of thousands of US dollars were stolen, but no formal criminal case was opened at the time. Now, years later, a report by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, completed in 2023 but only recently made public, sets out how senior members of the Presidential Protection Service allegedly ran a parallel or an unlawful investigation outside of official SAPS channels, but using state resources to track suspects across provinces and beyond our borders. The big question remains, what did the president know? How much did he know? And when did he know it? And if the fall guys are the Presidential Protection Unit and those officers, how could he have not known when they would have been acting on his behalf, if not directly on his instructions? Thuso Kifelagai is IPID's National Head of Investigations and joins us now. A very good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Welcome to our program.
Good morning, sir, and the listeners.
I suppose the first question to ask, because of course, since the report was declassified in February this year, we've had PIA applications by various organizations and media organizations and political parties to gain access to it. Perhaps you could just help us understand, why was this report classified in the first place?
Yeah, the report was simply classified because, during the investigation, we had the DPCI dealing with the matter as well from the criminal investigation point of view. And IPID was mainly focusing on the conduct of the police. So sharing the report prematurely whilst the investigation by DPCI is still ongoing, knowingly that we have shared some information with them that would have perhaps maybe exposed our own witnesses to some kind of discomfort. So we understood that it is important that the timing should be right when you release such information. Hence, there was some discussions, ongoing discussions with the DPCI, just to track as to whether it was appropriate at the time to release this kind of information while the investigation was still ongoing.
Just help me understand what the threat might be, because, and I could be wrong here, but isn't the threshold for the classification that the disclosure of information would be detrimental either to the functioning of a particular department concerned, or at least be some kind of threat to national security? How were either of those scenarios threatened by the disclosure of what was largely public information already?
What I can say is that with the information that we would have sourced ourselves from the witnesses, is the kind of information that DPCI was unable to source. So we have sourced that information from our witnesses, and then we made a commitment to them that this is for the purpose of IPID investigation. So if you choose to share the information with other entities, you should also be aware that you have obtained the information for the purpose of your own investigation. and not the purpose of investigation by the other government entity. So it was important that IPID should also gauge the level of temperature at the time as to whether it was the right time to allow the report to be out there.
What harm would have been caused? That's what I'm trying to understand. What harm would the disclosure of this report have caused at the time? Because as I say, a lot of this was already in the public domain. So what was the potential harm?
No, there was still a matter at the time that was with the DPP. Even when the last time when we shared some information or we inquired from DPCI, they went on to ask for additional information that was in our possession.
Let's get to
so
the
report.
Harm. Yeah.
The harm could be that you then want to share the information prematurely, and you haven't even alerted your people, or rather your informant, and you then give out the information that could put the very same whistleblowers or informant lives in jeopardy. So you need to treat these things with care when you are dealing with this type of cases.
And they're safer now?
At the moment, we believe that they are safer because the communication between ourselves and DPCI never ceased until such time that we were convinced that it was the right time that we should then allow the document.
So hang on. So let me understand it. It's your assertion that this report was classified because there were parallel investigations still unfolding at the time, but principally you wanted to protect some of the whistleblowers and some of the people from whom you got information, despite the national importance and the public interest of this matter. And all these years later, it's all fine because you've now spoken to the individuals you were concerned about. Is that have I got it right?
In a nutshell, is that at the time when we wanted to have this information given out there, we became aware that the matter with DPCI was still with the DPP. And even when we engaged DPP at the latest, DPCI still didn't have some of the information that we had, and we shared that information.
Okay. So why has it taken prior applications to get this information even after it was declassified?
No, the thing, it's a process, it's a legal process that as and when you require such information, this process is a legal process that when you want to sort such information, this is the route that you cannot circumvent in any other way except the prior request.
Looking at the report itself, one of the questions that is immediately glaring is that, the barest minimum that would be expected of any police officer when they are aware of an alleged crime, never mind investigating it, but certainly would be to report it. From the beginning, that's not what happened here, is it?
Of course, that's the findings by IPID during its investigation.
Yeah, so obviously I'm asking you this because I want to give context to our listeners who may not have read the report. So that's your opportunity to tell us a little bit more about how you came to that finding.
Yeah, look, let me say, IPID maintained from the outset that it would focus solely on misconduct, leaving the criminal investigation to the DPCI, and SAP's leadership was aware of this arrangement. And despite the SAP's initiated and finalized the parallel internal investigation and the disciplinary process while we as IPID was still gathering evidence. And consequently, or rather subsequent to that, SAP should, or rather I would say, we generated the recommendations and we refer them as negative recommendations because the investigation revealed that there were some transgressions, and hence we compiled a comprehensive report to that effect with several recommendations made that were adverse against General Rode and Sergeant Rukoto.
Those two specific names would seem to be the focus of your investigation, particularly, as you say, around misconduct. One of the things that's difficult to understand is how, even if we say Major General Wally Rhoda conducted an unlawful investigation beyond the remit of his powers, it's difficult to understand how he could have done so without the knowledge of his principal, the president.
No, I believe that the fact that the president was very much preoccupied with other things, it is expected of General Rode to have known better that he should have opened a case, because he got the message loud and clear. And so there was no way that IPID could have expected the president to go to a police station at the time to report the case. And demonstrate.
No. Let me clarify what I mean. Ultimately, General Rhoda investigated this because he was alerted to the alleged crime by the president, was he not?
He was alerted, of course.
So my difficulty is, if you find that he then conducted an investigation outside of what he was supposed to do, he conducted an unlawful investigation, investigating a matter to which he was alerted to by the president, it's difficult for me to understand how he would not, in that process, have reported back to the president to say, this is how far, this is what we have done, and this is how we are proceeding.
The challenge here is that when he had already received the information about the incident, he was expected to open a case or an inquiry, but he did his own investigation without such process being followed. And that it's problematic, because you are investigating a matter without the case number or inquiry, or at least a reference, and you use the resources of the state. And in some instances, if you might have read the document, it would also demonstrate that somewhere he needed to inform his principals. So that is the procedure, because he's not within that environment of investigation. So his role is very clear. You do your part, and the rest will be taken over by other.
So I think for anybody reading this and listening to you now, the difficulty we have once again, yes, I completely understand what the report says about what process Major General Wally Rhoda and others should have followed as police officers in terms of the reporting lines to the then National Commissioner. All of that is clear. But it would seem to an outsider, and tell me if this is a fair assessment, that there was an initial cover-up, that following your investigation, that report is then classified, and one can only get access to it now, all these years later, via a PIA application, and the report doesn't explain, even if we agree that Rhoda acted improperly or unlawfully, it doesn't explain how he would not have then gone back to the person who alerted him to the crime to say what he had done.
In line with our investigation was not about whether he had informed the president or not. It's what he was supposed to have done in terms of the...
So if he acted unlawfully, would it not matter to you that he was acting unlawfully on behalf of someone who he would then surely have kept abreast of what he was doing?
We have expected that he should have complied with the prescripts, the legal prescripts that are there, the applicable prescripts, not any other thing. So if he had failed to follow the legal prescripts, that does not bring the president closer to this incident. The fact that he failed doesn't suggest that then the president should have known. Whether he knew or not, it becomes immaterial. What is important is that what did he do as the person who is expected to have done something in line with the prescripts within the subs.
All right,
So
appreciate your time.
Pardon?
I said I appreciate your time. I think we'll leave it there. Tuso Gifelagai is IPID's National Head of Investigations. Are you convinced by what he says and all the facts around it and how we got to this point? Is it your sense that people like Rueda are really the fall guys for all of this? The Constitutional Court is about to hand its judgment as well. We'll keep an eye on what they say.
EWN Business.
All right, let's talk global business now. Muteo Haripe, the IMF said to revise forecasts really for all of us.
Yeah, the start to 2026 hasn't been the best. I mean, most forecasts at the end of 2025 were just looking forward to more growth in 2026, nothing hampering any of that growth. But as we know, with geopolitical tensions with the US, Israel, Iran war.
Should we just classify it?
Things have changed. We
won't need a PIA application to figure out what are they saying.
Yeah, the International Monetary Fund is expected to downgrade the outlook for the global economy. Our policymakers around the world are accounting the mounting costs of the US-Israel war on Iran. Our central bankers and key economic figures from leading economies are preparing to gather in Washington this week for the IMF and World Bank spring meetings. Analysts have warned that even if the current ceasefire holds, the economic damage caused by the conflict is likely to linger. Now, the IMF projected growth of 3.2% in 2025, and it's expected to come in lower this year. The IMF has also warned that about 45 million additional people could face acute food security because of the geopolitical tensions. A research by Brookings Institute found that the global economy had been showing its strongest momentum since the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2025. But things change very quickly in world economics.
Where's the rand? That's been changing quickly.
Yeah, it changed quickly and is weaker this morning by close to 1%. 16 Rand 55 against the US dollar, 19 Rand 34 against the euro, and at 22 Rand 18 cents against the British pound. Price of gold is also down this morning, $4,718 an ounce, while platinum is at $2,043. Brent crude at $102 a barrel. It's up 8% this morning. More business after 8.
Straight to the news we go. Sfisa Zulu, what you got?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. The African Transformation Movement says it is waiting for a response from National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza after requesting the start of impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa. It follows a damning report by police watchdog IPID into the alleged cover-up of money stolen at Ramaphosa's farm involving members of the Presidential Protection Service. While the report makes no findings against Ramaphosa, it is highly critical of Major General Wally Rueda and Constable Hlulani Rikoto on evidence that they breached police rules and legal obligations. ATM spokesperson Zaman Chona says the president is now compromised, describing the matter as a full-blown constitutional crisis.
The establishment of a parliamentary ad hoc committee through the Portfolio Committee on Police, urgent intervention by the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence into the unlawful intelligence style of operating.
Judicial watchdog Judges Matter says an understaffed judiciary has led to growing reserved judgments. The Office of the Chief Justice has raised concern about more than 302 outstanding judgments. This is the highest amount since 2018. Researcher at Judges Matter, Mbegazeli Benjamin, says South African courts not only have few judges, but also a limited amount of legal researchers.
The number of judges has remained stagnant since 2009. So there have only been 250 judges across South Africa since 2009 up until 2026. So for the last 17 years, there have been the same number of judges.
Benjamin says that courts are increasingly hearing more complex matters that further add to the delays.
Crime has become complex, which requires complex evidence such as DNA and electronic evidence. And at the same time, though, there have been a number of cases where the complexity of the issues are novel.
KwaZulu-Natal's Transport Department says its crackdown on driver's license corruption will include naming and shaming officials and driving schools involved in bribery. The department says investigations have already uncovered cases where examiners are allegedly taking bribes to pass applicants without proper testing. Authorities warn that tough action will be taken against those implicated, with several suspects already in court. Spokesperson Dabezinhle Sibia says efforts are underway to root out corruption within the testing centres.
Transport and the inspection unit within the Department of Transport is working with the Road Traffic Management Corporation, the anti-corruption unit, to root out all the rogue elements within the driving and testing centres. We can confirm that there are court hearings set up for a number of people that have been arrested.
And Ukraine and Russia have accused one another of hundreds of violations of a short ceasefire. The Ukrainian military says Russian forces committed more than 2,000 violations since the truce began at 4 o'clock on Saturday, including shooting 4 unarmed soldiers. The Russian Defense Ministry, in turn, says Ukrainian forces committed more than 1,900 violations, including 3 attempted counterattacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier said that his nation's forces would respond systemically to Russian attacks during the ceasefire. He added that he hoped the truce could be extended to facilitate peace negotiations, which have all but stalled with the outbreak of war in the Middle East. But Russia rejected the idea, saying its attacks will resume today. A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers this morning. The temperatures are at lows of 14 and 15 degrees, peaking at highs between 26 and 28.
And in the traffic, we've got delays in Spruit View along the N3 North. An accident seen between Leondale Road and Heidelberg Road. About a 20-minute hold up there. Please try to avoid that one. You can still use the R59 North through Alberton to avoid that scene. If you were traveling on the M1 North, we've got queuing traffic between Empire Road and Glenhove Road. That's due to another accident scene. Please be on the lookout there.
The top story this hour, the ATM says it's waiting for a response from the National Assembly Speaker after requesting the start of impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
This April, the Lyft Golden Ticket Hunt is back, and you have a shot at finding 150,000 Rand in flights across Cape Town, Durban, Joburg, and Pretoria. Clues drop exclusively on Lyft socials, so you'll need to be quick and watch closely. Figure it out and, of course, race to the location. But every Friday, there's a digital ticket to be found, giving everybody a chance to play along. To join the hunt, visit lyft.co.za. Follow the clues and get cracking. T's and C's apply.
Let's hear from Al, owner of Johnson's Cable, why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
I thought it was going to be difficult to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
For electrical, tradesman services, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers 2 options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
It's just Andalex it.
702 and MTN Business are celebrating small business owners who really walk that entrepreneurial talk, proving that big things can grow from bold ideas. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards, and standout SMEs are stepping into the spotlight from townships to suburbs and everywhere in between. So tune into 702 Breakfast and Afternoon Drive every weekday to meet our finalists and hear their stories. And if you're running a small business or know one that should be a part of this conversation, there's still time to enter. Nominate at primemediaplus.com, because the next business we talk about could be yours. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. T's, C's, and more on primemediaplus.com.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Brabons. I think listening to the gentleman there, he knowingly does not want to implement the president anyway. But the fact remains, if there was cars stolen or jewelry stolen at the president's house, a case would have been opened within a couple of days at the normal police station. The fact that Rweda went about hunting the money and going all haywire means that he was briefed and told that, hey, keep this on the down and low. If this gets out, it's not going to look good.
Hi, morning, Bongani. You know what the IPID is explaining to you now, it's another Marikana case. You know, another Falam case. The guy who's in the center of all this, the president, is being shifted to the side. He must be seen as somebody that was neutral, where actually he was the instigator and he was the person that was being reported to with the progress of them chasing after these people all the way to Namibia. Wool is being pulled over the faces of South Africans again, purporting to Cyril Ramaphosa. What a shame.
Good morning, Bongani. Maybe Bongani, you should have asked him if Rude didn't admit that he did tell the president, because he said it. One of the investigations says that he did go back to the president and report. Hence, the Namibia and all those things, that Chauke and whatever the case might be, because even Chauke, the advice of the president was involved. That means the president knew. So these guys are running away from holding the president accountable. Wow, South Africa.
Morning, Bongani, and the tea. Hey, the clouds are gathering, Bongani. The clouds are gathering. Akondi fihlakala kuphela. President nemali asesofeni ishubile.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. I mean, and even if, and I'm not taking away from the IPID investigation, even if Wally Rhoda and, his colleagues acted improperly or unlawfully, to use the better word, they would have done so in the service of the person who complained. Right? We still don't really know. And now more questions have arisen because we still don't fully know how much was actually in that house. We've all heard about this $580,000, but was there more? It would now appear that those who were the main suspects of that theft, some of them having to be dragged from Namibia, splurged out on a whole lot more than was allegedly stolen. So either they stole more, or could they have been paid on top of their theft to be quiet? All of that will pale into insignificance when we find out how much the president knew and when he knew it.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by Outsurance. A chance for you to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. First, 1,000 Rand for the answer, and then a little later, 2,000 Rand if you can give us the question. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask Outsurance for 500 Rand. Today's answer comes from Owen in Riverlee. Owen in Riverlee, what's today's answer, please?
Good morning, Bongani. The answer is Kennel Plus.
And tell me, Owen, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Yes, I've got a quote.
You biscuit plus. 1,000 Rand is coming your way, Owen, all thanks to Outsurance and 702. Canal Plus is the answer. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 883 0702.
EWN Sport.
I'm going to scratch my head, Cindy Paluta, but I think it was 1997, if I recall correctly, when Tiger Woods won his first Masters, and it was such a big deal. Rory McIlroy has done what 3 or 4 other golfers. Only 3 or 4 others have done this.
Is he the fourth? He's the fourth. And I love that. I'm wondering if you remember that Tiger Woods won it in 97 because of the video that's doing the rounds of his caddy at the time, who was this very older white guy who used a cigarette and to determine the direction of the wind. So Tiger picks up the ball, picks up a blade of grass and throws it in the air. The caddy goes, hang on, takes a puff of his cigarette and then holds it up, and they both look at which way the smoke blows. And the comments underneath there are like, wow, what a time to be alive. Like, how things have changed. Like, imagine if now a caddy had to pull out a cigarette on national TV and puff and this, so that's exactly it. And that's why I can say it was 97, because I think I saw that clip yesterday as well on Sky Sports. Absolutely hilarious. But yes, you're right. Rory McIlroy is the fourth person to win the Masters back-to-back. So he does join Woods, Faldo and Nicklaus. He squandered a 6-shot lead going into the final round. He shot a 71 to finish on 12 under, one ahead of Scotty Scheffler. McIlroy was asked what life lesson this weekend taught him.
Good things come to those who wait, maybe. I find myself in a very similar position today to where I was in the last round last year, 2 or 3 behind. I just tried really hard to focus on myself. I thought if I could get to 14 under, I thought that everyone else would struggle to get to that score. So didn't quite get there, but just keep going. Just keep your head down and keep going. And if you put the hours in and you work on the right things, eventually it'll come good for you.
Kaizer Chiefs got a 4th league win in a row, beating TS Galaxy for the first time in 5 years. Yesterday's 2-0 win with goals from Silva and Lepo keeps Amakosi third on the table. Chiefs coach Cedric Kaze.
We've been working on the ways to get inside the box, the ways to overload either side of the fields. The good thing is now we understand each other better. That gives more opportunities to score goals, and it's true that it's 7 goals in the last 3 games. We better keep doing what we are doing and even score more.
The day's other result, Geordon and Orbit College finished goalless. In the CAF Champions League, Sundowns beat Esperance de Tunis 1-0 in the first leg of the semi-final. Brian Leon with the second half goal. In the Premier League, Manchester City now just 6 points behind the league leaders Arsenal. City beat Chelsea 3-0 with goals from O'Reilly, Shirky and Dogu. While at the bottom, Tottenham Hotspur lost to Sunderland 1-0. They stay in the bottom 3. Nottingham Forest held 4th place Aston Villa 1-0. Crystal Palace beating Newcastle 2-1 tonight. Manchester United playing Leeds. Rugby news out of the Free State. Springbok scrum half Faf de Klerk will join the Cheetahs on a 2-year contract starting June. And in tennis, Yannick Sinner back top of the world tennis rankings after winning the Monte Carlo Masters. Sinner beat Alcaraz 7-6 and 6-2. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
Attention all shoppers.
Our supermarket shelves are full of unhealthy food. It's often hard for me to know which foods are good for my family. The information on packaged food is complicated and hard to understand. I wish we had easy-to-understand warning labels on foods high in salt, sugar, and saturated fat. We have the right to know what's in our food. Support front-of-package warning labels on unhealthy packaged foods. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
Get a free optical frame when you get tested at Specsavers this April. Purchase a comprehensive eye examination and get your optical frame free up to the value of 1,000 Rand. Choose your free frame from our wide range of trendy, affordable styles. Get tested today at your nearest Specsavers or book online. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
When we look at the ships now and the way they're going, are we seeing hundreds of ships coming towards us at the Cape ports?
Well, remember, the Strait of Hormuz is a sort of shipping dead end in a way. Once you're through the Strait of Hormuz, you're into the Persian Gulf. So a lot of ships are bottled up in there for the time being. As given the shipping industry in general, a lot of concern about the vulnerability of certain choke points and the control of coastal states or coastal authorities over them.
Timothy Walker, senior researcher on maritime security.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show is brought to you by ABSA CIB. Invested in your story because your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by the House of Citroen. The all-new Citroen Basalt is here. Book a test drive at citroen.co.za. Lots of rain And that means wet roads everywhere in Johannesburg.
Indeed, Bongani, and as a result, some roads are experiencing floods. Like if you're traveling on the M1 South in the Bramley area towards Corlett Drive, there's flooding there, so please be on the lookout and approach with care. Along with several areas like heading towards Greenside, this is along the Glen Eagles Road. It's also experiencing floods there, so please be on the lookout and approach with care. If you can, try to avoid these routes, and of course do remember to keep your headlights on, drive a bit slower than usual, and drive with care. More updates coming up, stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The all-new Citroen Basalt is here with keyless entry, wireless Apple and Android CarPlays, made to look good and make life easy. And that 470-litre boot, it's ready for every outfit change and then some. The all-new Citroen Basalt Coupe SUV from 354,000 Rand. Register now for limited launch deal assist of up to 40,000 Rand. Book a test drive today at citroen.co.za. T's and C's apply.
702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance. Please tell me what the question is. If the answer is Canal Plus, let's go to Muhammad in Waverley. Muhammad, what's the question?
Good morning, Bongani. The question is, which entertainment giant withdrew its support for the DSTV Delicious Festival?
Yeah, hey, it's the end of an era. Will it be as delicious? I mean, so what's not clear at this point is whether or not the festival will continue, and it may do so. It's just that DSTV will no longer be the named sponsor. But will it be as delicious? Mohammed, I can tell you what's delicious is the 2,000 Rand coming your way. All thanks to 702 and Outsurance. Mohammed in Waverley. We've seen so many stars at the DSTV Delicious Festival over the years. What happens next? It really does feel like the end of an era, does it not? News breaking out over the weekend that Canal Plus, the new owners of MultiChoice, will no longer be having DSTV as the named sponsor of that delicious festival. Now, you may not know, or you may know, the difference between shares and bonds. But whether you do, what you can be certain about is a great Outsurance deal when you see one. A car insurance quote now from Outsurance might save you money. If it doesn't, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now. Save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Coming up next, we meet one of the finalists in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. Let's talk about a small business doing big things.
Being in construction has taught me that buying machinery doesn't come cheap. Loaders, excavators, graders, they're the heartbeat of the job site. Now, thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. This saving helps keep my machines working and projects moving.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your yellow metal machinery. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
702.
702. What's gone viral?
With Kabazela.
Catch up now with the world of viral content. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Bella.
I mean, I don't know what you're trying to say here, Kabazela, but it seems of late the theme has been the same. What's that smell again?
I did pick that up actually when I sent it through, and I was like, oh, there's a slight trend here. But then I thought, oh, well, it was the Two Oceans Marathon over the weekend, and I thought it would probably be quite fitting to do this video. So, I mean, if you're a runner or you're a cyclist and you do your training run or your ride or you do a race, whatever it may be, What's nice sometimes afterwards is to go for a little bit of a coffee and you sit there with your friends and you chat about the race and your times and all that kind of stuff. And it's pretty cool, right? Not to other people. Apparently they look at this and they're like, well, you've just run a 10K, 21K or whatever it may be, or a 50-kilometer ride, and you're all sweaty. So why don't you just go home and shower and then go out? Now, if you're a runner or you're a cyclist, I would love to know your views. But let's take a listen to this guy. He's got a message for you people.
Runners, please go home and shower. Please go home and shower. After your 10 kilometers, your 25 kilometers, go home and shower. Don't come to Mug and Beans thinking of armpit and ruining my brunch. Why do runners like walking around musty with dried up sweat and armpits and decide, hey, I'm going to go to a restaurant and sit on somebody's chairs with my sweaty bums and think that it's normal? Go home and shower, guys. Nah, this is getting out of hand. Oof.
Oh, wow. Wow. The description, he's really thought about this, hasn't he?
Well, he's really annoyed by it, clearly, because, he takes to a social media platform. So, your sweaty bums, just go home after your races or your training runs or cycling races. Just go home. But, I've been there. I've done that many times after a race when I used to run a lot. It's lovely going and having a coffee with somebody after the race or a beer. I don't want to go home first and have a shower and then come back. It's nice just to go and do it straight after the race. And there are places where it specifically caters to runners or cyclists. And, but some people have an issue with it. I even have a mate, he calls them sweaty lycras. He's like, these people on their mountain bikes, sweaty lycras. Why must they come afterwards and take over the place? So what are your thoughts? Has he got a point, or is it like, come on, man, just get a life?
There's a part of me that says, firstly, how closely are you sitting next to these people? Because you want to go for coffee after a hike, after a run, after a cycle. You want to, you'd have to be really, really super close, in my view, for you to even get to that point. But let's put it out there. Runners, cyclists, what do? Do you go home and shower, or do you grab that coffee with your mates afterwards? And can people just get a life?
702 Feedback
with Rupfiwa Kone.
Rupfiwa Kone, how picky are you about these things?
You know what? If you're not smelling pleasant, please don't go
Stay
out.
away.
In public, it's not.
You just come from a run.
And I'm not going to sit next to you. I'm sitting next to my fellow runners who are also, having a meal right after a run. We're not sitting next to a Rofiwa.
You are not smelling
we're gonna
pleasant.
queue with you.
Queue where?
For the coffee.
No, I'm
For the
going to
order.
Mug and Bean. I'm going to Doppio Zero after running. So I'm not going to queue. I'm going in. I'm going to sit down and wait for my cup of coffee to come.
But if you go to a Seattle, we have to queue for the coffee, and then they bring it to us.
I guess we know who this gentleman was particularly referring to when he said,
go home.
please, now we know. Bo amo.
I'm just like, guys, if you don't want particular smells, stay in your home. Rofi? No?
We might as well just allow anybody to go into those restaurants, Bongani. Please, let's just keep it hygienic.
Life admission is reserved, says Rofi. All right, what else you got?
Well, Bongani, listeners are reacting to your question about whether they are ready to have a white president. And unfortunately, the overwhelming response that has come through is no. Many listeners are indicating that they are skeptical about having a white leader. They are still in their fields about apartheid. It's still very real to them. They are not over.
Allow me to play devil's advocate then. Are people then suggesting that they'll take corruption, incompetence, failure of every sort purely on the basis that the person who may be doing those things
Absolutely
is black?
not. Absolutely not, Bongani,
So
because
what
they
if-
are also saying that the DA has been given the opportunity to show that it will do a good job. But in Cape Town, they are disappointing. In black communities, they are not doing as much work
Who is? They must show me the party that has done amazing things in the so-called black areas, whose standard they can then use as a measure for this apparent failure by the DA.
But of course, I would also agree with them a little bit, because the DA is now having an opportunity to show that we have transformed enough that we will transform even the black communities, but they are not doing that at the moment.
No, then the DA goes around saying they've defeated woke ethno-populism. They call Bomusimaimane experiments that failed. Then they don't see color. People must be blue. Right? They see blue people.
Not
black, white, Indian. No, you're just blue. You're either blue or you're not. Are we all Smurfs? Right? We're all Smurfs according to the day. It's time for the latest Eyewitness News, brought to you by Momentum. Financial advisors help you have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
This is EWN.
Sergeant Faninkosi returns to court for a second attempt at bail, and Solim Simanga says he won't abandon his Gauteng leadership duties. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Disgraced police officer Faninkosi will return to the Pretoria North Magistrates Court this morning for a formal bail application. Nkosi was arrested earlier this month during a raid at his home. The sergeant's arrest followed his suspension last month during his testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Nkosi is accused of being the middleman between the suspected crime kingpins and senior police officers. Khomoto Modise reports.
Police say the raid at the home of suspended cop Faninkosi was prompted by a tip-off that there was suspicious activity on his property just days after he was officially suspended. According to the police, officers from the Madlanga Task Team, which is leading the investigation, found state-owned ammunition and 7 licensed firearms on his property, with only 4 in a safe, while another was under his bed and another was in his mattress. Another was discovered in his car. Police also found 6 dockets in Nkosi's Wendy house, some for cash in transit heists and another for hijacking. He's been charged for failing to safeguard his firearms and ammunition. He also faces a charge of defeating the ends of justice and failure to mount a safe. The state will argue that as a suspended police officer who was supposed to hand in all state property upon his suspension, Nkosi had no business being in possession of dockets or state-owned ammunition. Khomoto Modise, Eyewitness News.
The SAPS Political Killings Task Team has taken over an investigation into the murder of the Mfuleni municipality's accountant. Martha Rantsofu was shot dead last month outside a tyre shop in Funnelvale Park. The attack was captured on CCTV footage that's been widely circulated on social media. Jabuli Lembata reports.
Martha Rantsofu was previously employed in the municipality's revenue collection department, and she was later promoted as the city's accountant. In a social media post, a leaked video of the CCTV footage shows Rantsofu standing between 2 cars while on her phone. A man walks up from behind her and opens fire, and after she falls to the ground, he fires more shots before fleeing. Gauteng police say no arrests have yet been made, and the matter has been transferred to the Political Killings Task Team. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
Newly elected DA Federal Chairperson Solim Simanga says he will continue serving as the party's Gauteng leader following his election to the top position. The party held its Federal Congress in Midrand over the weekend, where its new leadership was elected. Simanga emerged as a big winner at the Congress, securing one of the most influential positions in the party. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Solim Simanga has taken over as the DA's Federal Chairperson, succeeding Ivan Meyer, a senior and prominent leader in the party. Simanga says while his new role is demanding, he'll remain the party's Gauteng leader at least until the next provincial Congress.
Gauteng has taken a decision that, I must remain in my seat until Congress is called. Whether Congress is going to be called.
He says his main goal is to grow the party's support.
I mean, if we are to be the biggest, we should be way above 32%. We should be way above that. So we should get to about 35 or more. Yeah. Then we can then say we have a realistic chance of being the bigger party and maybe forming the bigger partner in the coalitions if they're going to be.
Simanga says the party's focus is now on delivering a strong performance in the upcoming local government elections. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
And Iranian authorities say the U.S. needs to do more if an agreement is to be made to end the Middle East war. Iran's Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf says the U.S. delegation at Saturday's marathon talks in Pakistan ultimately failed to gain the trust of the Iranian delegation in this round of negotiations. The Iranian delegation did not accede to Washington's core demands of eliminating nuclear enrichment on Iranian soil and ending the control over the Strait of Hormuz. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it did not expect to reach an agreement after only one day of negotiations. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump says his Navy will block all Iranian Gulf ports today, effectively seizing control of maritime traffic in the critical Strait of Hormuz.
10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil, and that will be very effective. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait.
Gold is trading at $4,712.59 an ounce. The rand is at 16.55 to the dollar, 22.18 to the pound, 19.34 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $102.12 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays reported on the Mike 1 North. This is between the Killarney Bends and Corlett Drive. This is due to peak time delays as well as an accident right near Glenhove Road. To add on to these delays, we've got wet weather conditions. So if you're traveling on the roads, please be on the lookout for other motorists and drive with care.
And in your sports, Sundowns draws first blood with a crucial away-from-home win in the CAF Champions League semi-finals. Kaizer Chiefs' winning streak continues, beating TS Galaxy for the first time in 5 years. Manchester City now only 6 points behind Arsenal. Man United are in action tonight. Rory McIlroy wins the Masters by one shot, and Springbok Faf de Klerk to join Free State Cheetahs in June.
It's raining in most parts of Gauteng this morning. The temperatures will peak at highs of between 26 and 28 later. And the top story in EWN this hour: disgraced police officer Fanny Nkosi will return to the Pretoria North Magistrates Court this morning for a formal bail application.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Calling all small business owners. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes after 8 o'clock, so much going on in South Africa at the moment. As the DA elects a new leader, we have the real prospect, not too long. We'll certainly find out this week what happens next to the leader of the EFF. Depending on how sentencing goes in East London this week, we might see, and I'm not for a second suggesting it's what I want, but we could potentially see the exit of one Julius Malema from the political stage. Certainly as a member of parliament, and if indeed he does real jail time, his political career may be at an end. Through higher applications, we now have access to at least IPID's report on the Phala Phala matter. This as we await the Constitutional Court's judgment. And yes, as one of the voice notes suggested earlier, we must credit Vuyo Zungula, the African Transformation Movement, the EFF and others for bringing pressure to bear on those processes based on what's already available and in the public. I think this is a lot closer to the president than is comfortable. We just have so many unanswered questions. Can you imagine a scenario in which both Malema and Ramaphosa are gone from the political stage before the end of the year? Huh?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
We ask the question simply. The DA wants to be the largest party in the land, having elected Geordon Hill-Lewis, who will remain mayor of Cape Town, staying at the Cape Town Civic Centre. Does that work if he wants to be catapulted into a national role and a national figure, Muteo? So he would have leaders in the party that are members of cabinet with access to cabinet documents and briefings and discussions they can't share with him because he's not a member of cabinet. Quite apart from whoever the DA parliamentary leader might be, where will the center of power be?
And do we trust that those documents never find themselves on his desk?
Make it make sense. Runners, cyclists, hikers, go home. Don't come to coffee shops.
No.
Amo wants to fight this one. This is the hill you will die on.
Listen, when you finish running, right, there's a certain hunger that you feel. I can't explain it. If you have cravings, when you finish with your race, you feel like you want to have that pleasure, right? If it's ice cream, cup of coffee, whatever that you love, you feel that because you feel like you've achieved something. By the moment I get home and
You're not
wash
coming
it,
back.
I'm not going back. I'm
Yeah.
taking a nap.
Gotcha. Let's get some calls. Babalo, you're in Santon. Canal Plus dumping DSTV. Is that a good move or a bad move?
It was a horrible move. Good morning, Bongani. Good morning to the team. It was a bad move. I'm looking at the bigger picture. You know, Canal Plus came in and they literally want to dominate everything in Africa. And look at it now. So the reason for my call was I saw the headline from the Sunday World, and I actually read the story. And they dropped Showmax already. And think about the ramifications of everything else. What happens next? Do they drop SuperSport? The whole reason why we actually have DSTV is SuperSport.
Yeah.
Look at the schools rugby, varsity rugby, varsity sport, Disky Challenge, you know, and yes, DSTV is delicious. I think I'm hurt by that one because I love that show.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you may think of MultiChoice, there is a sense of it being a homegrown product, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
part of the brand affinity is that it's ours.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've also dominated the continent. And these guys only came in, they just want to make money. That's all they're doing. It's not about what DSTV, what the vision was to grow South Africa, grow our economy, grow our content and all of that. Now we're losing all of that.
Well, maybe give them time and see what they do, because this is part of their growth strategy. So they're not going to harm themselves, at least not knowingly. Maybe there's something they know that we don't. Hey, Babalo. Jeffrey, you're in Santon. You want to talk about the ANC and politics. Godfrey, I beg your pardon. Godfrey, I beg your pardon. I said Jeffrey, Godfrey.
Mr. Bingwa, how are you?
I'm very well, Godfrey.
I'm all right. Mr. Bingwa, for me, any black political party, either EFF, MK, ANC, as long as they are in power, I'm okay with that. We are not ready for a white presidency. Apartheid under democracy would be devastating.
Godfrey, I'm trying to deal with this, and to be very clear, I hold no brief for the Democratic Alliance. I know I get accused. Well, actually, depending on whatever day, you know, I'm often a Tumamina, I'm often what I really do not. But let's assume for a second, right? Let's assume for a little second here that we have a party, whichever it may be. If the leader who can deliver the best and the most happens to be white, should that matter?
Bongani, there is one thing that I would like to make it clear. any white person in front of me, I've never seen a white person who can say, I want to do what is best for everyone. If they come to you saying that they want to talk to you, there's something that they want. That's what I understand.
All white people.
Any white person would say, let me lead you into this thing. You elevate them to power to come and suppress you even further. So in my view, it can be a political party. It must be led by a black person who would understand the pain of what people has went through.
Can I turn it back on you the other way around and say, if you heard a white caller to this station saying all black people are this way or that way, if you speak to a black person, don't trust them, because ultimately what a black person will be this or will be that, will do this or will do the other. How much you respond to that?
Yes, my response to that, Bongani, is a professional question, a fair question. My answer came as a result of over 300 years of oppression. My view would not be the same, even if it can be after 400 years
what of those,
of us being in power.
What of those white people who were central to the struggle, to how it was conducted and participating in it? No place for them under the sun, Godfrey?
There is a place for them under the sun, Bongani.
Just not at the union buildings. Just not at the union buildings.
There will be, there is a space currently for them in the same union buildings. They are ministers.
All right, Godfrey and Santon, I don't think I can convince you.
EWN.
16 after 8, the CWN traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Delays all over the capital, Amo.
That's correct, Bongani. We start with an accident in Centurion. It's on the N14 East, right near Brackfontein interchange. Delays from the R55. There's also queuing traffic due to another accident seen on the N1 North. This is in the Waterkloof area, right near Rigel Avenue, also causing some issues there. I'm also seeing delays. In fact, heavy traffic volumes. This is along the R101. This is just as you head towards the Kalafong Hospital. Please be on the lookout there and expect about a 30-minute hold up there. There's also queuing traffic along the R55. This is in Lodium on Kwacha Road, just as you approach Maunda Street towards Attridgeville. Please approach with care. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Sitting in a traffic jam is as fun as a root canal. I know all about that, I can tell you. On a Monday morning, not fun. But fortunately, the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads, easing traffic congestion so everyone can get to where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag #PointsmanLove. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. This conversation is just the beginning.
Gosh, think about this. Losing a job in 2020, the height of the pandemic, and then you recover, you build a recognized home decor brand. Isn't that a fantastic turnaround story? That's the journey of Mbali Mdluli, the founder of Reliable Renders Home Decor, now a finalist in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. It started out really as a survival move. It's grown into a furniture and decor business, supplying sofas, living room sets, interior solutions, and it has expanded to retail partnerships, pop-ups, and they've got national distribution channels. The business has also been recognized in the industry, including winning a Youth-Owned Brands Award in 2025, and they've got an eye for bigger production capacity and developing skills. Let's meet Mbali Mdluli, the founder of Reliable Renders Home Deco, the first of our MTN Small Business Award finalists. Mbali, a very good morning to you, and what a journey so far, hey?
Morning, Bongani. Morning, everyone. And yeah, it has been a journey.
Take us back to 2020. We all know the impact of the pandemic. What exactly happened? What made you think, let me do deco?
Actually, it was so unintentional. So I studied sports at UP. So after that, I got a job at Midgeon High School, and I was working as a sports coordinator and coach. So when COVID hit, everyone was not going to work, obviously, but they were still paying us, but as soon as everyone was going back, we couldn't continue working because we were with sports. And remember, it had to be like contact and those social distancing things. So I couldn't go back to work. But because I was from varsity and I was moving in and I was sourcing furniture, and I struggled to find a one-stop shop for everything because I had to go to this shop for this shop for that, and this shop for this. So I already had a big following on Facebook. So when I would like post the things that I bought, people would be interested, like, oh, where did you buy this? Where did you buy this? And I actually saw the gap in the market that there's actually a big gap for entry level furniture, people who just moved in, you know, your working class, your immediate working class, not the standard one, like just moved in. So when I started the business, I wanted to create a solution for a one-stop shop for everything you need at home. Hence our slogan.
Bali, that is such a fantastic idea, because we think of somebody giving you a decor solution as being a lot more upmarket, certainly a lot more outside of the affordability range. So you're saying you want to be that one-stop solution that designs very tasteful homes, but for a budget that might be limited.
Definitely, at a very affordable price, but also giving you quality and something that's trendy.
And how has it been going?
It's been going very well, but it's very challenging. I won't lie, but the journey
It's a competitive space.
Definitely. And as someone who's coming from a sports industry, now it feels like I'm in corporate because I used to play football. So all my life I've been doing everything that's sport related. But now I had to go into big corporate. Not big corporate, but something more formal. You understand?
Yeah.
For example, how I have to dress, because I'm always in your sweatpants and soccer stuff. But now when I go to these conferences, I have to look pretty, suit up, and someone who's not that feminine, it's challenging, but I always try to keep up.
Hey?
Yeah, I still do. I also go to the gym, so I'm just that person. But now, when it comes to my business, now I have to be this formal person, you know. And as women are growing in entrepreneurship, I also have to be big on femininity. So I really need to bring out my feminine side, and it's kind of hard, but I'm trying.
Yeah, look, Mbali, I'm going to guess partly how you get here is the strength of your feminine side. Listen, we wish you well on this journey. I love every business that identifies a problem and a gap and tries to solve it. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I've got confidence in you, Mbali. I certainly like your idea, hey?
Definitely. And also one thing that I would like to tap on is that we actually want to start an institution that focuses on a lot of carpentry skills and upholstery, because when I got into the industry, I realized that, number one, it's not that South African dominated. Our fellow African brothers are dominating the industry. And number two, there's also not a lot of females who have the skills. So the bigger picture of Reliable Renders Home Decor is to actually develop an institution that is going to bring back the market into South African hands. So that's the bigger goal.
We wish you all the best. Founder of Reliable Renders Home Decor. She doesn't only want to grow her business, she wants to empower others. The first of our finalists in the MTN Small Business Awards. Stay listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Pullman today to meet our next finalist. If you heard that story, you've got one similar, you know of a business that could do just as well, go to primemediaplus.com to submit your entry or nomination.
The World View
with Adam Gilchrist.
News from elsewhere in the world. Deal or no deal? Adam Gilchrist, the Iran war. What's going on and what comes next?
Yeah, no deal it was, wasn't it? The box was empty. 21 hours of talks in Islamabad in Pakistan between American and Iranian delegations, and the Pakistan trying to mediate. And at the end of it, it was like the more they talked, the more they disagreed, the more entrenched they became. Just so many sticking points, in particular Iran's nuclear ambitions, who controls the Strait of Hormuz, who pays for what. There's always a bottom line there. So today, I think it's about 7.5 hours away, America will begin blockading Iranian ports and shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is the shipping channel that Donald Trump says was absolutely everyone else's problem. America doesn't need it, but the US Navy is going to step in. What happens next is anyone's guess. But given the talks happened in an atmosphere of mistrust and suspicion and doubt and precariousness, and it feels like that extends beyond the talks. Where we are now, what happens next? Those are the key questions. I have no answers, I'm afraid.
Yeah, one side saying death to the other one bombing it during negotiations. Where could the mistrust come from, Adam Gilchrist? Let's stay in that part of the world, sort of. Go across, I suppose, the Caspian Sea. Ukraine and Russia, deal or no deal there?
Well, they did agree a ceasefire, and there's been a sort of a ceasefire. This is for the Orthodox Church's Easter period, so a 30-hour ceasefire that kicked in on Saturday and lasted 38 minutes. That's when the air raid sirens went off, and the Ukrainian military recorded multiple ceasefire violations close to the front line, and it still very much is a front line in eastern Ukraine between Russian forces and Ukrainian forces and all the drone operators and so forth. Although no long-range missiles, no major drone attacks during the ceasefire, but we're hearing overnight and early today, again, there have been some violations and some attacks, and it looks like it's not going to hold. We've sort of stumbled into day 3 of the ceasefire with it rather wobbling around, and nobody's expecting the ceasefire to manfully stride ahead. But one step forward, one step backwards. That's the step backwards that looks like they'll be at it again, Ukraine and Russia. But a key ally of Vladimir Putin has lost his job. Viktor Orban has been voted out. He's no longer the boss of Hungary, no longer Prime Minister of Hungary. And given his pro-Putin, right-leaning, very much pro-Russia, anti-EU stance, given that he's no longer in power, it's seen very much as the Hungarians saying, we want to be more EU, European, NATO than we do Russian. So that is certainly being perceived in Western nations, like where I am, as a big positive for democracy. We'll see.
Now, the next story is just absolutely awful. Tell us about this 9-year-old boy and what did his father do to him?
Yeah, extraordinary. He was locked inside a van by his dad for pushing 18 months. November 2024. Think of everything we've done since November 2024. All that time, this boy has been locked inside a van in the German village of Hagenbach near the Swiss border, although the family itself is French. And now the boy is in hospital in eastern France. Basically, sounds were heard inside the van. I mean, you kind of wonder what happened for 18 months. Maybe the van wasn't parked anywhere near civilization. But anyway, people eventually heard. And when they found this little lad, he was naked, covered by a blanket, on top of a mound of trash and excrement. The boy's father told investigators that he'd locked his son up to protect him because his partner wanted him put away in a psychiatric hospital, which kind of makes no sense given everything that people have said about this boy. The mother says she had no idea the boy was there. What, for 18 months? You had no idea? Did you not think, where's he gone? So both mum and dad have been arrested for different charges. And just to emphasize this 9-year-old boy's ordeal, he'd been confined so long, 500 days pretty much in that van, he can no longer walk. He will have to learn to walk again. Oh, my word.
Yeah, what do you say to something like that? Not everybody who's a parent deserves the name. Adam Gilchrist with this morning's Worldview.
EWN Business.
Gosh, the national carrier Mateo Haripe in the headlines once again for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, the CEO of South African Airways, John Lamola, tendered his resignation on Friday, leaving the airline at the end of this month. 3 other members of the SAA board will join Lamola in the exit line. South African Airways has experienced extreme leadership instability with over 11 CEOs, including permanent, acting and interim CEOs in the past 2 decades. Lamola took up the position as the airline emerged from the business rescue process and navigated the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, SAA remains financially and operationally fragile despite reporting a net profit of 155 million rand last year. Some analysts and also audits are saying that most of those profits are coming from asset sales instead of operational efficiency.
The markets?
Well, U.S. inflation soared on Friday for that March number amid the U.S.-Israel war with Iran, with prices up 0.9% compared with last month, 3.3% over the year. In the Asia-Pacific this morning, investors are weighing the U.S. naval blockade on Iran's ports after talks between Washington and Tehran failed to produce an agreement. The breakdown of negotiations seeing that oil price surged this morning. The rand has also been weaker as a result, 16 rand 53 against the US dollar, 19 rand 34 against the euro, and 22 rand 18 cents against the British pound. Price of gold is down 0.5% at $4,726 an ounce, while platinum is at $2,045. Brent crude is up 7.9% this morning at $101 a barrel. More business this afternoon.
Go straight to Eyewitness News. Many a famous politician or family members in court this week. Zulu?
That's right, Bongani. Good morning. Duduzile Zuma Sambudla will return to the Durban High Court for the resumption of her 2021 July unrest trial. The daughter of former President Jacob Zuma faces charges of incitement of terrorism and incitement of public violence. The state is accusing her of using her ex-social media platform to trigger unrest, which led to the deaths of more than 400 people and widespread looting in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. Judicial watchdog Judges Matters says an understaffed judiciary has led to growing reserved judgments. The Office of the Chief Justice has raised concern about more than 302 outstanding judgments. This is the highest amount since 2018. Researcher at the Judges Matters, Mbegazeli Benjamin, says South African courts not only have few judges, but also a limited amount of legal researchers.
The number of judges has remained stagnant since 2009. So they've only been 250 judges across South Africa since 2009 up until 2026. So for the last 17 years, they've been the same number of judges.
Benjamin adds that courts are increasingly hearing more complex matters that further add to the delays.
Crime has become complex, which requires complex evidence such as DNA and electronic evidence. And at the same time, though, there have been a number of cases where the complexity of the issues are novel.
Celia Brink says he's more than prepared to juggle his mayoral campaign in Tshwane and his new position in the DA's national leadership. Brink was elected Deputy Federal Chairperson at the party's Congress over the weekend. The position is occupied by 3 people who are involved in making key organizational decisions. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Celia Brink was previously a member of parliament for the DA before being redeployed to the city of Tshwane to serve as mayor. However, he was later removed through a vote of no confidence, after which he became an ordinary councillor and the DA's mayoral candidate in the capital. With the local government elections approaching, Brink says he's confident that he'll be able to juggle his mayoral campaign with his new role as the DA's deputy federal chairperson.
I would not have agreed to the nomination if I did not think that this can be combined with my candidacy in Tshwane. To me, professionally, politically, Tshwane, the race there is critically important. I believe I can make a contribution while being the Tshwane candidate.
The DA's deputy federal chairperson is responsible for overseeing the party's administration and playing a key role in key decision-making. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
And Ukraine and Russia have accused one another of hundreds of violations of a short ceasefire. The Ukrainian military says Russian forces committed more than 2,000 violations since the truce began at 4 o'clock on Saturday, including shooting 4 unarmed soldiers. The Russian Defense Ministry, in turn, says Ukrainian forces committed more than 1,900 violations, including 3 attempted counterattacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier said his nation's forces would respond systemically to Russian attacks during the ceasefire, and he's added that he hopes the truce could be extended to facilitate peace negotiations, which have all but stalled with the outbreak of war in the Middle East. But Russia rejected the idea, saying its attacks will resume today. It's raining in most parts of Gauteng this morning, and the temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy traffic volumes across Joburg this morning due to wet weather conditions, as well as a couple of accidents that have been causing the most delays. On the N1 North towards Gordon Road, Florida Glen, do expect delays there due to an accident scene. There's also another accident reported on the Makwa North near the Gauteng Kilani Bends, causing about a 20-minute hold-up between Empire Road and Corlett Drive.
The top story this hour, Duduzile Zuma Sambudla will return to the Durban High Court for the resumption of her 2021 July unrest trial.
That's Fani before he got naked. Fani's insurance premium went up for no reason, irritating him more than when the boys ignored the really funny meme he posted in the group chat. What? So Fani got naked. He got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Go Fani. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
The Audi Open House Sales event is here and you're invited. Come test drive a wide range of Audi models, take advantage of exclusive offers, and stand a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Formula One, courtesy of Audi. The Audi Open House Sales event is now on until 30th of April at Audi dealerships nationwide. Book your test drive today at audi.co.za. Terms and conditions apply.
702's Small Business Focus, powered by Capitec, shines a spotlight on the drive, passion, and dedication behind every successful small business.
As a founder, what it is are you building and what is your long-term plan? Are you building something in order just to exit, make 10x multiple on it, and effectively go back to an early retirement or whatever the story is? Or are you actually building something that you plan to continue running and create an enterprise? And what we're finding is that it's very different on the African continent compared to the US. In the US, exits are many, and the biggest part of that exit market is effectively IPOs, or being able to list your business and actually continue to hold a share in that business, so that as the share price grows, like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, their net worth actually continues to increase.
Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. Catch the Small Business Focus on 702 and bank on better business banking with Capitec. Capitec is an authorized FSP. 46669.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Oh, Bongani Adiga, we're all Smurfs, yeah, no. The whole non-racialism, we don't see color, we're colorblind, it's so tone deaf. Maybe in, when everybody had Rainbow Nation hangover, and we're all hoping for some kind of magical, some magical place that South Africa was at in 1994. In 2026, you cannot be colorblind. You cannot speak about the South African identity, the national identity, how we come together, when we don't come together, the tension points, without boiling it down to race. So I think they've really missed the mark there. It's such a, it would have been such a beautiful opportunity for them to really call things for what they are, especially as a predominantly white party. Anyway, the politics continue.
Hi, Bongana. Smavs vele. Now I'm just driving on the road looking at the people and I'm thinking like, who does that looks like in the Smavs? You made my day. Now I'm looking at all these Smavs driving around. Linda here in Pretoria.
Morning, Bongani. I really don't understand why we're stuck into color. Because what we want a South African who can run the country for the better of its people and the country. So hence I'm trying to say the cat can be black or white as long as it can catch the mice. Words of the wise man. We just need a South African. That's it. Nimrod here.
Good morning, Bongani and the team. We do realize that there are other people here in South Africa besides black and white people. Why can't we have a colored president or an Indian president? Or even before we have another white president, why can't we have a female president, Bongani? For me personally, for as long as the DA doesn't take somebody like me seriously, I will not take the DA seriously, Bongani. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's not just a theoretic conversation. It comes out of the fact that the DA has just elected Geordon Hill-Lewis, who says he wants to lead that party to being the largest in the land, and therefore it stands to reason. So it's not just, I don't know, some intellectual joyride we're on. There are real implications around that, but I just have to wonder how he thinks he'll be able to step from the Civic Centre, even if his own plan works out as he said it would yesterday. Does he step directly from the Civic Centre to the Union Buildings? Or does that tell you that maybe even he doesn't quite think the DA is ready? Thabo, you're in Sandton. You want to talk about the IPID report on Phala?
Good morning, Bongani. How are you?
I'm very well, Thabo. Go ahead.
Yeah, please indulge me with your time a bit. I'm going to take a bit of your time.
Not too long,
Bongani.
Thabo. Not too long.
Yeah, certainly. Ramaphosa is not my favorite. I should first start by that. However, I would like us to be objective, when it comes to the IPID report. I'm not yet done reading it. However, I've already picked up 6, if not 7, material inaccuracies in the IPID report. First, the IPID acceded to the mere fact that actually there was no independent investigation done by them. They relied on statements that they shared with the public protector. Even though the public protector, on certain instances in that report, said there is a lot of information that we are treating with caution because we do not have evidence to support such allegations, IPID went ahead and concluded to make findings on that. Secondly, there's misinterpretation of the IPID Act by the IPID institution itself. It misinterpreted Section 29, 1A and B of their Act. That actually, IPID says it imposes an obligation to report burglary. Section 29, 1A and B, that is incorrect because it says clearly on their Act that Section 29 primarily relates to deaths in custody, rape by police officers. It does not impose a general obligation on members to report burglary. This constitutes a material legal misinterpretation. Secondly, Bongani, there's...
Ooh, I almost have to stop you right there. Whilst that may not be the correct law to rely on, certainly there would be an obligation on any officer to report a crime if they're aware of one.
No, Bongani. There are case laws, decided cases, that the moment to invalidate such reports, that the moment you base your investigation on the wrong act, it means you are taking a wrong direction on your investigation. There are decided cases on that. You are incorrect to say that, Bongani.
No, I'm saying,
yes,
it may well be that they relied on the wrong act or piece of legislation. I'm not going to quibble with you on that. I'm saying, whatever the legislation is, there is an obligation on any officer to report a crime when they become aware of it.
But when you say it gives a general obligation for them to report this, say it in that context. Do not relate it to a certain act that is incorrect. The act that says a different story.
Sure, but the principle stands, right?
Can I continue on that, Bongani?
Okay.
It is in the public domain. I don't know if you are familiar with it, that COVID-19, actually the lockdown was, the first day of lockdown was the 27th of March 2020, isn't it?
Yeah.
The IPID report says the movement of those guys from wherever they are to Cape Town, it was between the 3rd and the 20th of March 2020. The IPID report says that movement was actually to disguise because they were doing whatever the case they were doing. But even though the president has already given instructions that it is lockdown time, we are on a lockdown and movements are not allowed and physical meetings are encouraged. That is also incorrect because from the 3rd and the 20th, we're not on lockdown. Lockdown started on the 27th of March. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Look, Thabo.
Yeah, and also, there's a lot
Yeah, clearly, and that's really the point. I mean, obviously, there'll be continuing conversations around this as we prepare for, I suppose, the final word on the matter as the ConCourt makes its ruling after all this time. It's been, hundreds and hundreds of days. But I take your point, and obviously we just don't have the time to go into all the details. But still more questions, I think, than answers, certainly.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's talk football. Silipalutha is here. African football. Sundowns.
Yeah.
Carrying the flag high.
A very big win for them last night. It was a one goal win, 1-0 against Esperance de Tunis. But it's so important because it was the first leg of the CAF Champions League semi-final, and it's an away goal, so really crucial. And after the weekend's Premiership action, they're still top of the table with a game in hand.
Yeah, because Pirates decided to draw.
I mean, a picture. Are still top 1 point ahead of Orlando Pirates. Kaizer Chiefs beat TS Galaxy 2-0 for a fourth straight league win. They stay third. Chiefs now have 2 away games this week in Polokwane against Magesi and Polokwane. Coach Cedric Kaze.
It's going to be 2 games in a space of 72 hours. We need first to work on our recovery until the first game on Wednesday. We know that it's going to be difficult, but the aim is the same. We want to go there on the front foot and look for a positive result.
In a battle to avoid relegation, Marumo Galant and Orbit College finished goalless. Galant's third from bottom ahead of Orbit on goal difference. In the Premier League tonight, Manchester United are hosting Leeds. Yesterday, City got a 3-0 win over Chelsea to stay within 6 points of the leaders Arsenal.
Because they decided to lose.
Yes.
To
Why?
Bournemouth.
Yes. Tottenham Hotspur failed to move out the relegation zone because they decided to lose to Sunderland 1-0. And Nottingham Forest held Aston Villa 1-0, Crystal Palace beating Newcastle 2-1. Rory McIlroy won the Masters by 1 shot of the final round 71, finishing on 12 under ahead of Scotty Scheffler. It's been 24 years since someone won the Masters back-to-back. McIlroy's the 4th person to do so alongside Nicolas Faldo and Woods.
I thought it was so difficult to win last year because of trying to win the Masters and the Grand Slam, and then this year I realized it's just really difficult to win the Masters. Incredible, I don't think I would have believed anyone if they said to me, all you have to do is shoot even par for the weekend and you'll win. I definitely thought I was going to need to go out there and at least shoot a couple of under par scores.
Springbok scrum half Faf de Klerk will return from Japan and join the Free State Cheetahs on a 2-year contract that starts in June. The Varsity Cup final scheduled for tonight, where Tuks are hosting Potch. Let's see if that happens with this weather. And in tennis, Yannick Sinner beat Carlos Alcaraz in the Monte Carlo Masters final, 7-6 and 6-2 to go back top of the world tennis rankings. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
13 minutes before 9 o'clock. Let's wrap up the morning's traffic, Amo.
Well, Bongani, we've got heavy traffic volumes along the Mark 1 North. In fact, it's a stop-and-go situation all the way from Xavier Street towards the double-decker section. This is due to a major accident seen at Xavier and then another one right near the Empire Road exit. So please be on the lookout traveling along this route and drive with care. In Melville, we've got an accident along Peri Herzog Avenue before Judith Road. It's also causing delays while heading towards Rivonia. Expect delays on the N1 South. This is between the Baklu interchange and Rivonia Road. In the city of Tshwane, queuing traffic as well in Centurion along the N14 east towards the Brakfontein interchange. An earlier accident there. And then in Lodium, we've got delays along Kwacha Road towards Mounda Street. Please drive with care. More updates at the top of the hour. Do stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch it this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring APSA. Their Group Chief Marketing and Corporate Affairs Officer, Sydney Mbele, will be in conversation with us. And we do this on Wednesdays to highlight efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and together make a difference.
It's 6 a.m. in Kenya. Victor's little sister starts high school today, but her fees need to be paid first. Back in Jozi, Victor logs onto the APSA banking app and sends her money and a little extra for lunch. It arrives instantly.
Your money makes their world go round. Send cash to 18 countries across the world with APSA Global Pay. It's safe, instant, and affordable. Your story matters. APSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
Good morning, Bongani and the team. I think this is Ubuntu
it's considerate. What he has just said, it's about just runners and cyclists being considerate. I myself enjoy a cup of coffee or a drink after hiking, especially if I hike at those places where when you come down, there is a mini bar there or a coffee shop. I enjoy hanging out there with my friends before we actually depart home, because after I go home, I don't think I'll refresh and come back. But it is considerate to consider refreshing before you come into a restaurant.
Good morning, Bongani and the 702 family. This is Lebo Mukoka. I mean, coffee or some malt after running, it's part of the culture. It does not change. It's not going to change now. So maybe people can excuse us. It won't change now. We usually go to our sports clubs where after running we would have coffee in the sports club restaurant. But if it's a official race like the 702, we are definitely going into those restaurants.
Coming up
on the Clement Manyatela Show
on 702.
Clement Manyatela on your radio between 9 and 12. You're a runner, Clement. What's your take on this? Apparently you guys must go home after your runs. Don't go to coffee shops. You're making people uncomfortable.
Why are we told what to do?
We will
do whatever we want to do to try and decompress and just take it easy. Look, I'm one of the runners that goes straight home. I have gone out for breakfast or to go get a smoothie and chill somewhere and rest. But normally I prefer to just go home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us because you want to do whatever you want. What are you going to be doing between 9 and 12?
In fact, what we're going to do today, we're going to have a conversation about runners. This past weekend in Cape Town, we did the Two Oceans marathon. Yesterday, it was the half. On Saturday, some of us did the 56-kilometer ultra. So I want to ask the listeners whether they enjoyed that, how did they feel, and what they thought of the marathon. It is indeed the most beautiful marathon in the world. It's so scenic. So we'll reflect on that on the open line, and then also reflect on Geordon Hill-Lewis as the new leader of the Democratic Alliance. Is this the man that's going to be able to help broaden the DA's appeal among South Africa's largest voting market, which is the black population, and what are the creative ideas the DA has to get itself to that point? We'll also reflect on those talks that broke down between Iran and America over the weekend. And then at 10 o'clock, we bring in a former leader of the DA and one of the new leaders to discuss the next chapter of the Democratic Alliance under this new leadership. So Helen Zille, who is the former Federal Council Chair, will join us. We'll also bring in Solim Simang, who is the new Federal Chair. 10:30, we do the last installment of our series looking at multilateral institutions. And today the focus is on the International Monetary Fund. What is it? Why was it established? And where is it now? And then we wrap up the show at 11 o'clock on our Family Matters feature. Today we're discussing parenting multiples, whether it's twins, triplets, or more. How have you navigated that as a parent?
Right.
That's going to be our chat at 11.
Quick request from me, and you can have it with both Helen and Solim Simanga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their titles are so confusing because that's exactly what you've just done. You confused them. So Soli is the federal chair. Whilst Helen was the chair of the Federal Council.
Yes.
Why
That's
are they
what I
confusing?
said.
No, you said federal chair.
No,
Helen was
Helen Zille is the Federal Council Chair.
No, she's the chair of the Federal Council.
Well, you could say Federal Council Chair too. That's what I always call them.
No, she's the chair of the Federal Council.
You
see how confusing it is? Can they just?
I think what's confusing is there's a Federal Chair.
Just have good old SG.
There's a Federal Chair, and then there's a Federal Council Chair, and the responsibilities are completely different. But I'll get Solim Simang to clarify that to the listeners that may be confused.
Through you, Chair. Come in Manyatela between 9 and 12.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m. Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
At Fly Sapphire, we know that some of the most important lessons take place beyond the classroom, on sports fields, stages, and tours. And so, we've brought back our School Booster Initiative, where 10 schools stand to win 10 domestic return flights each, helping their pupils fly further, dream bigger, and do what they love. Visit flysapphire.co.za. Tell us how these flights could benefit your school, and you could be a winner. Fly Sapphire, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
From cellmates to change makers. That's what's coming out of Cape Town this week. A difficult question. How do we shape justice reform and rehabilitation for incarcerated people, whether they're innocently or otherwise? Is their life after prison? And what are policymakers and those who are looking into these things need to think about? Jaz Singh joins us from the Global Freedom Fellow and the founder of Empower Ability, talking to us about what's unfolding over the next few days in Cape Town. Jaz, a very good morning to you and thank you for your time. Welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Good morning, Bongani. It's a real pleasure to be at 702. Thank you for having me.
All right, talk to me about what is being launched in Cape Town this week and why it's being described as a global first.
Well, we're launching the Global Freedom Consulting Agency, which is the world's first consulting agency of formerly incarcerated leaders from around the world. We've got 34 consultants from 19 countries, so a true global representation. All of them are alumni of the Global Freedom Fellowship. And every one of them has been a leader that has been brought to South Africa over the last 3 years in cohorts. And all of our consultants have different areas of expertise, including things like education and not incarceration, building that prison to university pipeline and partnership rather than that poverty postcode pipeline that leads to prison and school exclusion, and supporting access to higher education for people in prison and those that are coming out of prison. We really focus on reintegration after prison, because we believe that the prison sentence is one of the only sentences in the English language that doesn't carry a full stop. The punishment continues, it perpetuates. And we're looking to have restorative justice, community-safe initiatives, policy and advocacy work, and we're trying to be smart on crime rather than tough on crime. And it's about building safe communities through smart approaches to justice instead of the same old metrics we're using, which we all know globally are not working, which is why reoffending rates are rising. So our consultants are leaders in their own field, in their own nations, but they're now joining together to start the world's first lived experience leadership consulting agency.
What are you bringing to the conversation? Because if I think of how South Africa approaches this issue, we have, for example, what we are calling rehabilitation centers. That's our thinking instead of centers of punishment, at least officially. But quite often, like many countries around the world, we see those who are formerly incarcerated become repeat offenders. And what do we need to think differently about incarceration?
Well, I think you've got to look at what we're trying to rehabilitate people into. So if they've got challenging circumstances at home, or they've got a need for a higher level of emotional intelligence, we need to work on those factors. But obviously housing is a massive part of reintegration, employment, purposeful employment, and having meaning in life as well. And our consultants have all gone through this journey. We've seen the blind spots, we've seen the gaps in the system, and with our knowledge and intel, we feel that we're best placed to be an organisation. And we've partnered, it's not just the 34 consultants. We've got 134 partner organisations across the world in more than 40 countries. So what we feel reintegration and rehabilitation should look like is trying to get somebody to reintegrate back into society safely, both for the community, but also for the individual that was incarcerated.
How does your lived experience model shape the idea of bringing down the recidivism numbers?
Well, we have what we call an emotional recall. It's not a learnt experience. We have authentic insight. Anybody that has lived experience of the sort of justice system understands the system from the inside, from behind that door mindset. We know where the gaps are. We know where the unintended harms live. We also know the everyday realities. So we have a more realistic policy recommendations. When we talk about reform, we do it from a much sharper optic and lens. And we identify issues outsiders often miss, policymakers in government. We feel the re-entry barriers. I could talk about insurance all day. The insurance premiums go up just by being formally incarcerated. Why is that so? If there's a direct connection to your index offence and insurance, we would understand. But it's just carte blanche. All of your insurance goes up. We also have credibility and trust. Communities affected by crime and incarceration are more likely to trust and engage with leaders who have been there. So when we speak to people, I was in Allendale Correctional Facility earlier this week, talking to some of the lads who were playing rugby. My voice landed more because I've been through that same journey they've been through. So we can bridge the gaps between institutions and communities, but also try and increase participation in those reform programs. But the most important part for us is to humanise the system. Lived experience challenges those stereotypes about justice-involved individuals. We want to shift the narrative from punishment to rehabilitation, authentic rehabilitation, but also promote dignity in those second chances.
Jazz Singh, appreciate your time. Global Freedom Fellow and the founder of Empower Ability.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
And that means the Clement Manyatela Show starts now.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. Court this morning for a formal bail application. Nkosi was arrested earlier this month during a raid at his home. The sergeant's arrest followed his suspension last month during his testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Nkosi is accused of being the middleman between suspected crime kingpins and senior police officers. Khomoso Modisa reports.
Police say the raid at the home of suspended cop Fani Nkosi was prompted by a tip-off that there was suspicious activity on his property just days after he was officially suspended. According to the police, officers from the Madlanga Task Team, which is leading the investigation, found state-owned ammunition and 7 licensed firearms on his property, with only 4 in a safe, while another was under his bed and another was in his mattress. Another was discovered in his car. Police also found 6 dockets in Nkosi's Wendy house, some for cash in transit heists and another for hijacking.